Chapter 1382. Estheach. At that moment, Han Sen, Lin Shirling and the other Golden Core cultivators were so shocked that they gasped. Even Qiu Yinong was so shocked that her delicate body trembled. She subconsciously took a step back, her eyes filled with fear. The leader of the Qiu family had received 80% of ancestral patriarch Qiuze's teachings and was a mid-stage Golden Core cultivator. He would even take over Qiuze's position as Island Lord in the future. And yet, he was still killed by Jiang Tian as if he were an ant. That was too terrifying. I didn't expect you to be a late-stage Golden Core Grand Perfected cultivator. Lin Shirling walked up to Jiang Tian with light steps. She said in a coquettish voice, "Why are you here? Our previous actions have indeed offended your excellency. But all of this is just a misunderstanding. Elder Chenyan was jealous of you, so he colluded with Qiuze to make you his enemy. He had a death wish. My seafood pavilion will definitely not pursue you." "Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Lin Shirling. Senior, you might not know my identity. I'm just the head of the Ocean Treasure Tower. I'm the special envoy of the State Preceptor Sun Bojun and also the person in charge of the preparation of the State Preceptor Sun Bojun. I'm here to find talents in the entire Dragon Gate area to be loyal to the State Preceptor Sunday, and a talent like Grandmaster Jiang is what the State Preceptor wants the most. As long as Grandmaster Jiang is willing, he can join the State Preceptor Hall and be in charge of making artifacts. He can even help you reach the nascent soul level." When she said this, everyone's eyes lit up and they were filled with envy. Nascent soul level. That would be enough to stand shoulder to shoulder with the State Preceptor and the giant Shark King. They would be at the top of the world and could even suppress Qiuze. Only Qiu Yinong was angry and unwilling. She wanted to refute Lin Shirling, but she held herself back. Good. Lin Shirling is begging him so softly and tempting him with benefits. He'll definitely let his guard down. Qiu Yinong thought coldly in his heart. That's when I decided to go all out and kill the enemy in one strike. If you've said enough, you can die now. Contrary to everyone's expectations, Jiang Tian remained unmoved, and his face turned cold. What? This kid's killing intent is so deep. Lin Shirling was shocked, but in the next moment, she smiled, revealing a seductive look. She bowed to the ground and said in a sweet voice, "Perfected cultivator Jiang, I'm not married yet. If Grandmaster Jiang is willing to spare my life, I'm willing to marry Grandmaster Jiang. The billions of assets of the Treasure Ocean Pavilion and more than 90 branches will all belong to you." At this moment, she was using her seduction technique. Her pair of peach blossom eyes rippled like waves, as gentle as water. She was actually like a blooming flower, emitting an alluring body fragrance that refreshed the heart, made one's face heat up, made one's heart beat faster, and made one go crazy. After she knelt down, her slender waist bowed deeply, and the chest of her palace dress naturally fell, revealing a touch of extremely alluring white depth. Two round and smooth curves appeared on her high-raised buttocks, like a large peach that was ready to be plucked. Even a cold-hearted killer or an eminent monk with a heart as dry as a well would not be able to resist such a tempting scene. Moreover, the conditions she proposed were too generous. The Treasure Ocean Pavilion had countless heavenly materials and earthly treasures, divine weapons, and cultivation techniques. It was as vast as the sea. Crystals and precious metals were piled up like mountains. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was as rich as a country. Any cultivator who obtained it would be able to ascend to the extreme and reach the sky in a single step. Who could resist such temptation? Even Lin Shirling was full of confidence that Jiang Tian would not reject her proposal. He would even go crazy for her. Damn, why are all these women so ignorant nowadays? Are they all coveting my beauty? Jiang Tian looked up at the sky and sighed. He was extremely depressed and said, "Is being handsome also a sin?" His words were mocking, but his eyes were endless coldness, as if they were hanging high in the sky. His eyes were full of disdain, as if Lin Shirling was just an ant in front of him, just a bitch. Oh no! Lin Shirling's heart skipped a beat, and her heart fell into the abyss. Her body rose into the air, and her palace dress fluttered in the air. She was like a fledgling phoenix soaring in the sky, about to fly away and escape. "You can't run away." Jiang Tian coldly snorted and raised his hand. Boom. Lin Shirling only felt the void solidify, and the space in front of Jiang Tian's palm suddenly solidified, turning into an iron plate. She felt as if there were huge mountains pressing down on her from all directions, and she could not even move a finger. Even when she burned her golden core, her Dharma form couldn't be unleashed. In the end, even her golden core was quickly extinguished. Her boiling true essence was completely frozen. She couldn't even display the slightest bit of her heaven-piercing cultivation. A forbidden region. I've only seen such a forbidden region when Sun Bojun attacked. Are you a nascent soul heavenly lord? Lin Shirling was terrified. She had only seen such a divine power that could control the laws of space, and she had only seen it from Sun Bojun, the heavenly lord of the ocean. Only a nascent soul cultivator could do such a terrifying thing. But in the Dragon Gate world, there were only two heavenly lords in history, Sun Bojun and the giant Shark King. Even the famous ancestral patriarch of the true dragon sect, who dared to go against the Ruins Emperor a few thousand years ago, failed to enter the nascent soul level. And even though Sun Bojun and the giant Shark King had entered the nascent soul level, they couldn't cast the forbidden region every time. At this moment, her intestines were turning green from regret. If she knew that Jiang Tian's strength was so terrifying, she wouldn't have listened to her suggestion to work with the Qiu clan and oppose Jiang Tian even if she had to grind her mouth until it was broken. He was a nascent soul heavenly lord. Nascent soul? Just trash. I don't know how many I've killed. Jiang Tian smiled and tapped the sky-swallowing demonic gourd at his waist. The nameless flying sword flew out calmly and was about to behead her. Please spare me, perfected cultivator. I can support you to kill Sun Bojun and the giant Shark King and become the ancestral patriarch of this world. Lin Shirling screamed. Unfortunately, I hate it when women covet my beauty. I'll give Sun Bojun a gift for cutting off a beauty's head. Jiang Tian smiled and looked emotionless. The nameless flying sword circled around her slender, snow-white neck and beheaded her. Then, Jiang Tian grabbed her bloody golden core and countless flying swords shot out, turning her into a bloody mess. Then, he took her divine soul and golden core. Countless flying swords, along with a bloody mist, swept across the area like iron dragons. Short and mournful screams rose and fell one after another, joining together into one. A moment later, the entire hall was filled with broken limbs and blood. The bloody mist spread in the air and didn't disperse for a long time. None of the senior members of the families and sects who were involved in the kidnapping of Jiang Tian escaped. They were all killed. Clatter, clatter, clatter. Qiu Yinong's teeth were chattering and she was trembling in fear. Only a minute had passed since Jiang Tian came in and dozens of golden core perfected cultivators were killed, but it felt like a century to Qiu Yinong. She wanted to attack countless times during that time. However, when she saw Jiang Tian use the Forbidden Zone, she was completely desperate. She looked at Jiang Tian in horror as if she had seen a demon. This refugee from the Zhanglan world is a nascent soul heavenly lord. How is that possible? She couldn't believe it. However, she also felt the power of Jiang Tian's Forbidden Zone. She had never sensed such a divine ability from any Gold Core Realm cultivator before. If he wasn't a nascent soul heavenly lord, what was? I'm really blind this time. Why did I provoke a nascent soul heavenly lord? I'm doomed. Qiu Yinong was extremely regretful. No wonder he dares to challenge the Qiu family. No wonder he's so arrogant. It turns out that he's a nascent soul heavenly lord. Lin Qin had been dumbfounded since the beginning. He had never thought that Jiang Tian would be so powerful. At this moment, he suddenly recalled Jiang Tian's bold words. What did he say about crushing those great figures with a single punch? At that time, when he heard about it, he felt that Jiang Tian was exaggerating. Only now did he know that Jiang Tian really had such strength. However, Qiu Yinong was startled and her face turned pale. Why didn't he kill me? Does he want to humiliate me because I'm beautiful and beautiful? Thinking of this, she took a step back. She held the sword with one hand and covered her chest with the other, Jiang, don't even think about touching me. I won't do it. If you dare to force yourself on me, I'll explode my meridians and kill myself. You think too highly of yourself. You're even worse than a bitch in my eyes. Jiang Tian stepped in the pool of blood and said with disdain, I didn't kill you because you're still useful. What do you want? Qiu Yinong was ashamed. She was slightly startled and exclaimed, Your ancestral patriarch and patriarch are dead. If Sun Bojun and Giant Shark King ask, how are you going to report it? Jiang Tian turned from a guest to a host. With his hands behind his back, he leisurely strolled to the throne where the Qiu family's old ancestor, Qiu Zhe, sat down lazily and looked down at Qiu Yinong as if he was looking at an ant. Chapter 1383. The people Jiang Tian killed today were all important people on the 18 Island. Even if Jiang Tian didn't cause much of a commotion, Sun Bojun would still know about it. Then, he needed a suitable explanation. Otherwise, Sun Bojun and the others would be alerted and change the location of the cauldron auction. And the person who could give a reasonable explanation was Qiu Yinong. Because she was Sun Bojun's disciple and he trusted her the most. How do you want me to report? Qiu Yinong said coldly. Qiu Zhe, Chen Yan, Lin Shirling, Han Chen and the others colluded with the royal family. They planned to rescue Ao Jiao and kill Sun Bojun at the cauldron auction. After you found out, you killed them without hesitation. Jiang Tian said calmly. You're not going to run away? Qiu Yinong wasn't stupid. She suddenly realized something and asked in shock, You're setting up an ambush. You're going to ambush my master. That's right. Jiang Tian smiled lazily and said, Not only Sun Bojun and the Giant Shark King, but also the cultivators from Jade Lake and Hailan. I'll kill them all. What's your level? Nascent soul. Maybe I'm just a golden core cultivator. What's wrong? Jiang Tian asked calmly. You're crazy. You're crazy. Qiu Yinong stared blankly for a long time before shouting hysterically at Jiang Tian as if she had gone mad. In her opinion, Jiang Tian was crazy. In fact, she thought that Jiang Tian could use a secret art, but he definitely wasn't a nascent soul cultivator. Sun Bojun and the Giant Shark King had both entered the nascent soul level a few years ago. The key point was that there were many peerless powerhouses from the Jade Lake and the Ocean Billow world standing behind them. After Jiang Tian killed the Qiu family, he should have fled thousands of miles away. Who would have thought that he would stay and ambush them? However, she certainly wouldn't persuade Jiang Tian. She hated Jiang Tian to the core. Jiang Tian killed almost all the senior members of the Qiu family who were above the golden core level. These people were all her close relatives and had provided her with countless resources for her cultivation. How could she not hate them? At this moment, she wanted nothing more than to cut Jiang Tian into 1,000 pieces. However, her cultivation and strength were inferior to Jiang Tian's, so there was nothing she could do. Just wait for my master and the Giant Shark King to arrive. You'll be killed. When the time comes, I'll whip your corpse. Qiu Yinong thought angrily, and had no choice but to follow Jiang Tian's instructions and report the matter to Sun Bojun through a sound-transmitting magical tool. Logically speaking, this matter also made sense because when the two sides were fighting, there were many spies who had surrendered to the other side. Subsequently, Qiu Yinong announced to the whole island that a portion of the Qiu family's members, Oceanic Treasure's House, and Divine Refining Sect had betrayed Sun Bojun. She had already suppressed them with force and killed all of the traitors. From today onwards, she would be the island master of the 18 plates, overseeing the entire island. As for the Oceanic Treasure House, the Divine Refining Sect, and the other families involved, they didn't dare to resist. These forces had already submitted to Sun Bojun, and they were just a bunch of cowards with low cultivation. How would they dare to resist? They were just surprised. I didn't expect Qiu Zhe, Lin Shirling, Grandmaster Chen Yan, and Han Chen to be traitors. They hid it well. Many of the cultivators sighed with emotion. Then, with the attitude that this matter had nothing to do with them, they forgot about it. Not many people knew about Jiang Tian's killing. When he rushed into the mansion, he had already set up layers of restrictions, so no news could be transmitted out. Coupled with Qiu Yinong's cooperation, Jiang Tian had become the house master of the Oceanic Treasures House. "Grandmaster, please spare us. We have offended you 2 days ago. Please punish us." When Jiang Tian entered the main building as the house master of the Oceanic Treasures House, Grandmaster Appraiser who rushed over to beg for forgiveness. He was so frightened that he knelt on the ground, tears and mucus flowing down his face as he kowtowed. Ouyang Yuan wasn't there. He only found out after asking. When he heard that Grandmaster Chenyan and Lin Shirling had been executed and that Jiang Tian had become the house master, Ouyang Yuan couldn't bear the fear and exploded his meridians, committing suicide. Jiang Tian didn't care about these ants. His target had never been them. He waved his hand and dismissed Grandmaster Hu. Thus, Jiang Tian stayed in the main building of the Oceanic Treasures House. He listened to music and drank wine, living a carefree life. Every day he would interrogate Qiu Yinong, beat her up, and search her soul. He had dug out all of Sun Bozhen's arrangements. No one would have thought that Qiu Yinong, the direct disciple of Sun Bozhen, who had shocked the 18 islands and played an important role in the Dragon Gate world, would be trampled on and humiliated like an ant by Jiang Tian. She was not even comparable to a servant, suffering pain and fear. "You with the surname Jiang, I'll let you be arrogant for a few more days. When Sun Bozhen and the Giant Shark King arrive, they will tear you into pieces." On this day, Qiu Yinong was beaten to a pulp. She gritted her teeth and glared at Jiang Tian with hatred. However, she didn't dare to send a message to Sun Bozhen. This was because Jiang Tian had planted a soul devourer's divine sense in her sea of consciousness. Her every move, even her thoughts, were under Jiang Tian's control. However, Jiang Tian's carefree days didn't last long. Soon he received an invitation. The auction for the cultivation furnace will be held tonight at the Sea Viewing Pavilion. Imperial Preceptor Sun Bozhen has invited many famous clans. "I'm also invited?" Jiang Tian raised his eyebrows. His eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. Finally, it was time to start a massacre. Jiang Tian was now in charge of the Oceanic Treasures House, the second largest trading company in the world. His status was extremely high. Moreover, he had been recommended by Qiu Yinong. Sun Bozhen wanted to use him, so of course he would be invited. At dusk, the Sea Viewing Pavilion was already brightly lit. Countless butlers and maids came and went like butterflies in the crowd. Jiang Tian brought Xie Yan, Long Yanan, and Elder Hu he had used a secret technique to change their appearances. They were dressed in black robes and held a folding fan in their hands. They looked elegant and unrestrained as they floated over. As for Bai Zhe, Patriarch True Dragon, and Zhang Qianlei, they were scattered. They hid in the dark and supported Jiang Tian. Sun Bozhen stood behind the Sea Viewing Pavilion. His aura was so powerful that it could even suppress the island master's residence. With the help of the powerful magic formation, numerous shining and magnificent palaces floated in the air above the highest peak of the island, overlooking the entire 18 islands and thousands of miles of blue ocean. They looked like the palaces of immortals, cities in the sky. Between the jade palaces, there were wide paths paved with dazzling jade slabs. Many guests could pass through freely. The level of refining weapons in the Dragon Gate world was very low. However, the Sea Viewing Pavilion was built with the support of Hai Lan and Jade Lake. The level of refining weapons displayed here was amazing. It was far superior to the Oceanic Treasures House and even the original Cape Trading Company. "You're really stubborn." I tried to persuade them time and time again. In the end, they still came to die. Jiang Tian appeared at the bottom of the jade path. Suddenly, he saw a few familiar faces. He could not help but shake his head and smile bitterly. He saw Xie Tingran and Xiao Qingtan, who were both wearing the lowest level of maid attire. They were welcoming and guiding the guests happily. Xiao Bing used a secret technique to change his appearance and disguised himself as a guard. He wore low-level armor and held a long spear. He was standing guard beside a building. In addition, there were Qin Shangqing, Shui Qianxing, and many other loyal Golden Core and Foundation establishment cultivators. It seemed that they had used their connections to sneak into the Sea Viewing Pavilion. When Ao Jiao was auctioned, they wanted to rescue her. In next to no time, Xia Tingran and Xiao Qingten noticed Jiang Tian as well, and their faces couldn't help but go pale. They quickly walked over and berated in a low voice. "Young Master Jiang, Senior Xie Yan, what are you two doing here? Didn't I say it on the island? I want to rescue Princess Ao Jiao." Jiang Tian said with a smile through his divine sense. You still want to be a hero at this time? You want to win my favor? You are a toad who wants to eat swan meat. Stop dreaming, I won't like you. I only love Brother Xiaobing. I will never change my mind. Xie Tingran was so angry that she almost vomited blood. Her face was cold and she said coldly, "Do you know that you've only come here to die? There are so many golden core cultivators here. There will even be nascent soul cultivators and nascent soul cultivators. Even if you want to die, don't drag my patriarch with you. Patriarch, ask him to get out of here." Over the past few days, Xie Yan had felt that Jiang Tian was not ordinary. His face changed greatly and he said through his divine sense, "Tingran, don't be rash. Young Master Jiang's strength is not something you can imagine. Go and tell Brother Xiao that we will listen to his arrangements for today's operation." "What? Patriarch, you are crazy. He has no cultivation at all." Xie Tingran could not believe it. Jiang Tian stopped Xie Yan, who wanted to explain, and said lazily, "You seem to be thinking too much. I am here for Ao Jiao. It has nothing to do with you." "What? Who do you think you are? How dare you covet Princess Ao Jiao?" Hearing this, Xiao Qingtan said with disdain, "She is my brother's woman, the future imperial concubine. You are not worthy." Chapter 1384. Jiang Tian smiled helplessly and said, "What does it have to do with you who I covet? In short, an arrogant and unruly woman like you can't enter my eyes. Get out of the way. A good dog doesn't block the way." What did you say?" Xiao Qingtan's beautiful eyes widened and her full chest heaved up and down violently. She was, after all, the daughter of a military family. Her talent was outstanding, and her cultivation was extraordinary. She was also one of the top beauties in the Dragon Gate world. Normally, countless young men would try to curry favor with her, but now, she was being insulted by Jiang Tian. Xiao Qingtan wanted to lose her temper and beat Jiang Tian up, but Xie Tingran knew that they couldn't reveal their cultivation to attract attention. She pulled Xiao Qingtan behind her and stretched out her hand. "Jiang, do you think it's so easy to enter the Seaview Pavilion? You need 10 billion crystal stones to buy an entrance ticket and an invitation letter written by Sun Bojun himself." Her face was full of mockery as she looked down at Jiang Tian like he was an ant. Jiang Tian was just a refugee from the Kanglin world. He was like an ant in this place. How could he get these? "If you don't have an invitation letter but stay at the entrance and disturb the members and guests of the Seaview Pavilion, that's a capital offense. You'll be killed without mercy." She waved at a guard. The guard also sensed that something was wrong and flew over as if he was about to attack. At this moment, above the passageway, a gorgeous woman in red walked over quickly and bowed deeply. She said in a sweet voice, "Is this the new owner of the Seafoam Tower, Jiang Tian, Grandmaster Jiang?" "What? The new owner of the Seafoam Tower?" Xiao Qingtan and Xie Tingran looked at each other in disbelief. They didn't expect Jiang Tian's position to be so high. It had only been a few days, and he had become the owner of the second largest business in the world. "That's right. It's me." Jiang Tian cupped his hands, but he noticed that Long Yanen's sleeves were trembling. She was obviously very excited. It should be Long Yanen's old friend from the Sea Wave world. Could it be her sister, Long Shengnan? Jiang Tian's heart stirred as he looked at the woman with a smile. This woman had a youthful complexion, like a budding flower, but her figure was very hot. Her appearance was gorgeous and charming that didn't match her age. Her skin was like ice and her bones were like jade, and her beauty was peerless. She had obviously suppressed her cultivation and appeared to be only at the gold core realm. But in reality, she had already formed her nascent soul. "I am Long Shui, the shopkeeper of the Seaview Pavilion. Welcome, Grandmaster Jiang, to the auction. Your presence brings light to our humble dwelling and makes us feel extremely honored." The red-clothed girl laughed coquettishly. She was very experienced in dealing with people, just like an old monster. Hee, I wouldn't dare to say that I'm a grandmaster. I only know some basic refining techniques. Jiang Tian said with a smile. Young master, you're too modest. Even Miss Chiu Inong couldn't stop praising your skills in refining. I hope that we can communicate more with each other in the future so that the Sea Viewing Pavilion can also benefit from your help in refining. Long Shui said in a tender voice, Young master, this way please. VIP number 1, please come up. We've prepared a seat for you. Does Miss Long really welcome me? Why didn't I notice it? Jiang Tian put his hands behind his back and pointed at Xiao Qingtan and Xie Tingran arrogantly. These two maidservants offended me with their words just now. They were very disrespectful and treated me like an ant. They wanted me to... I want to turn around and leave. That's right. They wanted to call the guards to attack you just now. They're simply courting death. Old fox who exaggerated. Is that really so? Long Shui's pretty face turned cold and her eyebrows raised. Her beautiful eyes flashed with murderous intent. Slap. She slapped Xiao Qingtan's face and shouted angrily, You dog! You have eyes but can't see. How dare you disrespect young Master Jiang? Are you courting death? Kneel down and apologize to young Master Jiang. Otherwise, I'll skin you alive. Xiao Qingtan staggered and blood spurted out from the corner of her mouth. Her pretty face was full of murderous intent as she stared at Jiang Tian with fire in her eyes. However, Xie Tingran suppressed her anger. She pulled on Jiang Tian's sleeve and knelt down in front of him. She apologized and said, We didn't know Grandmaster Jiang's identity. Please forgive us for offending you. She was cruel and merciless when teaching her subordinates a lesson. However, Long Shui smiled in front of Jiang Tian. She bowed deeply and said softly, Young master, please forgive us. These two were just recruited. They are clumsy and don't know your face. They didn't mean to offend you. Then let's go. Tonight I'll let these two serve me. Jiang Tian smiled wickedly and walked away. What did you say? Xiao Qingtan and Xie Tingran were so angry that they almost vomited blood. They didn't expect Jiang Tian to be so shameless. If young Master Jiang doesn't mind their stupidity and filth, there's no problem. Long Shui smiled and said, They're just two low-level maids. For young master to take a fancy to them, it's their fortune. Young master, please enjoy. Young Master Jiang is protecting you. Xie Yan used his divine sense to persuade them, but the two girls didn't listen at all. Ao Jiao hasn't appeared yet, so we can't make a move. When we make a move, we'll take advantage of the chaos and kill this Jiang guy. He has obviously surrendered to Sun Bojun. This bastard won't expose our actions, right? He shouldn't. I'm still on your side. If he has really surrendered to the enemy, my family's ancestor will definitely inform us. The two girls had their own thoughts. They hated Jiang Tian so much that the roots of their teeth itched. They also despised him and were a little confused. The pavilions in the air were arranged in picturesque disorder, floating around a platform. This platform was where the auctioneer called out the price. In the surrounding floating pavilions, there were seats that were arranged in a row, forming a hall. As for Jiang Tian's sky floating pavilion, it was even more extravagant and grand. There were many pavilions in it. There were also layers of restrictions in this box that isolated sound and divine sense. Even so, there were still some people wearing masks to hide their identities. Today's Cultivation Cauldron auction was no small matter. There were many priceless cultivation resources and even cultivation cauldrons of the true dragon bloodline. Most of the customers naturally didn't want to expose their identities and cause unnecessary trouble. Young master, this is the VIP box arranged for you. After leading Jiang Tian to a pavilion box, Long Shui bowed and said, If you need anything, just look for me. You go first. Jiang Tian nodded. Long Shui waved her hand and called a maid from outside the door, saying, This is the maid in the box. Her name is Lan Shenglong. If young master needs anything, you can also look for her. After saying that, she took her leave. Jiang Tian keenly noticed. As soon as the woman came in, Long Yanan hurriedly stood up. Her mouth opened a few times, but she hesitated and sat down again. This woman's tall and slender figure was extremely impressive. She was curvaceous and extremely hot. Moreover, she was even more mature than Long Shui. Her skin was fair, her eyebrows were picturesque, and her face was beautiful. She bowed and said, "I'm Lan Shenglong. Greetings, Grandmaster Jiang." Jiang Tian scanned with his divine sense and understood. He laughed and said frivolously, "You're quite beautiful. You're quite pretty. Can you dance? Dance for me. If you dance well and suit my taste, I'll take you as my concubine in the future. I'll pamper you 7 or 8 times a night." "Young master, you must be joking. I'm just an inferior servant. I only know how to do some rough work like serving tea. I know nothing about music, chess, calligraphy, painting, singing, dancing, and poetry." Lan Shenglong was stunned. She was so scared that her face turned pale. She took a few steps back, revealing a touch of shyness, and smiled bitterly. Lecherous wastrel, flashy and greasy. Disgusting. Seeing this scene, Xiao Qingtan and Xie Tingran despised Jiang Tian to the extreme. They protected Lan Shenglong behind them like old hens protecting their chicks. In their eyes, Jiang Tian was almost a lecherous demon. "So what if I'm a lecherous wastrel? I'll take you as my concubines later." Jiang Tian first smiled frivolously, then glared at Lan Shenglong and scolded, "You don't even know how to dance. Useless thing, get out of here." "I'll take my leave. If you need me, please call me again." Lan Shenglong bowed as if she had been pardoned and stepped out step by step. Silence was restored in the box. Jiang Tian raised his hand and set up a restriction to isolate divine sense. Xiao Qingtan and Xie Tingran seemed to be disgusted by Jiang Tian. They bowed and cupped their fists and said, "Grandmaster Jiang, we'll take our leave first. If you call us again, we'll come again." Tonight, the heroes have arrived. Killing intent is everywhere. If you want to live, then stay in this box obediently. Jiang Tian took out the Thunderfire wine and took a sip. He played with the wine pot and sighed leisurely. "If a war breaks out, the first to die will definitely be you," Xiao Qingtan said disdainfully. "I don't know what methods you use to deceive Sun Bojun and make him respect you so much. But you have to understand that a person like him will definitely make you pay back 10 times the benefits he gives you now. At that time, if you can't pay him back, he will definitely kill you. I advise you not to wait until the day you are exposed. Run far away now." Chapter 1385. Xie Tingran snorted and left with Xiao Qingtan. Xie Yan wanted to stop them, but he couldn't. Jiang Tian chuckled and shook his head. At this point he had already done all he could. His final persuasion was also for Xie Yan's sake. Besides, Xie Tingran and Xiao Qingtan were just fighting for power. They weren't good people. He wasn't a saint, so there was no need to say more. Silence was restored in the room. Only Xie Yan sighed heavily. But he didn't dare to go out and contact Xiao Bing. He would alert the enemy and expose himself in advance. Moreover, Jiang Tian had said all the good things, but Xie Tingran and the others didn't listen at all. They were doomed to die tonight. In the silence, Jiang Tian suddenly raised his hand and set up a layer of restriction. He asked, "Long Yanan, Long Shui is your sister's servant, right?" How did you know she's my sister's servant?" Long Yanan was shocked and couldn't believe it. Long Shui was very beautiful and sexy. And she was very considerate along the way. She respected Jiang Tian to the extreme. If it was an ordinary person, they would definitely be charmed by her and fall in love at first sight. But Jiang Tian was vigilant and even guessed her identity. You don't know. I'm the ancestor of scheming. If they want to scheme against me, it's like showing off in front of Guan Yu." Jiang Tianzong laughed wildly, his murderous intent filling the air. "Who is she? Tell me or I'll kill you now," Jiang Tian shouted. "She's my sister's servant. But in fact, her cultivation is about the same as my sister's. It's just that she's a branch of the Drake bloodline." Long Yanan's face was as white as paper. Jiang Tian had already detected many ambushes, but he still sat there calmly. Could it be that he was 100% sure? Jiang Tian nodded and laughed. Your sister's name is Long Xingnan. She's Lan Shenglong, right? She's now vigilant and thinks that I'm wary of her. I'm afraid she's going to start a new show to make me lower my guard. Long Yanan was puzzled. Suddenly, the door of Jiang Tian's box was kicked open by someone. A bearded man in luxurious clothes rushed in and roared. Bastard, you're blocking my view. Do you know that? Either get out of the room or change rooms with me. Jiang Tian's face darkened. This box was arranged by the Seaview Pavilion. If you're not satisfied, go find Long Shui and Sun Bojun to shout at. Don't bark in front of me. Long Xingnan, who was disguised as Lan Shenglong, quickly walked over and bowed. Young master, the seats here were all decided in advance. Moreover, their positions are well arranged and won't block your line of sight. Please maintain order. Do you have the right to speak here? She's only a maid. The bearded young master turned around and his gaze slowly fell on Long Xingnan. He couldn't help but reveal a deep look of greed. You're not bad-looking. Go to the young master's box and serve the young master. If you're satisfied, I'll take you home and let you enjoy yourself. Long Xingnan revealed a somewhat embarrassed and fearful expression. Finally, she squeezed out a smile and said, Young master, you're joking. Who's joking with you? The bearded young master roared. Crawl over here for the young master. You're just a lowly servant who can be picked by anyone. Why pretend to be virtuous? His roar was very loud and attracted a lot of attention. Many guests walked out of the box and looked over at the sound. I've received orders today that I'll only serve Grandmaster Jiang tonight. If you want me to serve you, please get Grandmaster Jiang's permission. Otherwise, the manager will punish me. Long Xingnan bit her lips lightly. Her face was slightly pale. Her beautiful eyes were about to cry. No man could resist her pitiful appearance. So you're the new Grandmaster refining, Jiang Tian, young Master Jiang. The curly-bearded burly man was arrogant as if he was looking at an ant. He looked at Jiang Tian arrogantly and said with a cold snort, Young master, I want to borrow your female slave. I think you don't have any objections, right? This is going to be interesting. I've heard that Grandmaster Jiang has been in the limelight recently. He helped Qiu Yinong quell the chaos and took credit for it. Even the seafood pavilion was given by Sun Bojun himself. I've heard that this bearded young master is the illegitimate son of the owner of Rubble Island. His name is Luo Long. He's very domineering. If there's a disagreement, he'll kill and rob. Recently, he's killed many Zhongzi's direct disciples. They're all fierce people. I wonder what kind of sparks will fly when they clash. Many cultivators were discussing and communicating with each other using their divine senses. Of course, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Jiang Tian walked out of the box and said with a smile, This girl seems to be a virgin. Her skills are rusty and I don't like her. If young Master Luo likes her, you can take her and train her for me. Tsk, he actually gave her away. Although she's just a female slave, can't you see that Luo Long is trampling on his face? He's so shameless. He's so cowardly that he can't even protect his own woman. He's really a disgrace to us cultivators. It's no wonder. Although he's proficient in refining weapons, he's too weak to challenge Luo Long. Many cultivators shook their heads in disdain. Even Elder, who was ashamed and felt that he had lost all face. Luo Long was obviously stunned. A trace of surprise and confusion flashed across Long Xingnan's eyes. Then, Luo Long's evil smile became even more sinister. He looked at Long Xingnan and said with a smile, It seems that there was a young master who toyed with a woman here last time. He toyed with her until she died. If you don't come over and satisfy me, I'll send you to the barracks and let the thirsty soldiers enjoy you. Let's see how many people you can handle. Everyone shook their heads and sighed. They thought that Luo Long was so domineering to bully a woman. He was worse than a beast. At this time, a handsome man walked out of a private room next to them, surrounded by Xiao Qingtan and Xie Tingran. He said coldly, What are you talking about? What a shameless bastard. The world is clear and bright, yet you still dare to speak such filthy words. You're even so shameless and pleased with yourself, Why don't you speak? Are you afraid that others won't know how smelly your mouth is? Qin Shangqing, the Zongzi of the Heavenly Book sect. Everyone was shocked. Seeing that Qin Shangqing had spoken up, Luo Long's face was filled with viciousness. He said coldly, "Do you know who you're talking to?" Of course. Qin Shangqing's demeanor was graceful. His every movement was full of vigor. His eyes were filled with disdain and confidence. Since you know, you shouldn't be so impulsive because of a woman. You should think about the consequences. Luo Long sneered. What consequences do I have to think about when talking to a beast? Qin Shangqing's lips curled into a mocking smile, causing Xiao Qingtan to laugh. She looked at him with admiration as if she was looking at her idol. Qin Shangqing was also part of the loyal army. However, he was a spy and did not raise his flag. Therefore, he was still a direct disciple of a sect. His status was not lower than Luo Long's. More importantly, he was also a golden core cultivator, while Luo Long was only at the foundation establishment stage. How could Luo Long be a match for him? More importantly, Jiang Tian's maid was harassed, but Luo Long was so timid that he did not even dare to say a word. He just gave up. Compared to Qin Shangqing, who was a hero who saved the damsel in distress, the difference was like heaven and earth. Luo Long was extremely wretched and cowardly. He was not even worthy of carrying Luo Long's shoes. Chapter 1386. Hearing the mocking laughter of the crowd, Luo Long was enraged. He shouted, "Throw this kid out." In Luo Long's private room, several figures stood up and exuded a majestic aura. It seemed that there were golden core cultivators in the room. At this time, Long Shui returned and said sternly, "Luo Long, don't you know the rules here? If there's a dispute, get out and fight. However, no one dares to fight in the Seaview Pavilion. Aren't you afraid of the state preceptor's punishment?" Hearing this, Luo Long glared at Qin Shangqing and said coldly, "Today, I'll give Shui a face and not kill you." Long Shui smiled and said, "Of course. As for this servant girl, if you like her, I'm willing to give her to young Master Luo. Let that woman crawl into my private room. Today, I'll let her know what it means to be favored in front of everyone." Luo Long's cold gaze swept across. Long Xingnan's eyes were filled with despair. Tears streamed down her face and her body trembled slightly. She looked at Jiang Tian for help. Jiang Tian smiled and said, "Why are you looking at me? You're too ugly. I don't like it. If young Master Luo likes you, then you're convinced. Why aren't you kowtowing and thanking him?" The crowd booed. Everyone despised Jiang Tian to the extreme. Xie Tingran and Xiao Qingtan were so disgusted that they wanted to vomit. "Yes, young master." Long Shengnan looked resigned to her fate. She could only walk with heavy steps toward Luo Long's private room. However, as soon as she took a step, her arm was grabbed by a pair of strong hands, making her unable to move. "Tonight, you'll sit in my private room." Qin Shangqing's eyes were cold and arrogant as he looked at Luo Long provocatively. "Long Shui, he's a VIP. Am I not a VIP? Today, I'll protect this woman." Originally, he was only persuaded by Xiao Qingtan and Xie Tingran. However, when he saw Long Xingnan's pitiful look, he really felt sorry for her. This woman was a beauty. He didn't believe that she wouldn't be convinced and obediently crawl into his bed. At this moment, he could still feel Long Xingnan and Xiao Qingtan's admiring gazes. He was so happy that his soul almost left his body. Suddenly, an old man flew over and bowed apologetically. "I am the manager of the Seaview Pavilion, the chief refiner. Greetings to young Master Qin." "Young Master Qin, I'm sorry. Today, we didn't handle things well. Elder, he's as famous as Master Qinyan and is highly regarded by Sun Bojun." Everyone exclaimed. "Is a simple apology enough? Where is my face?" Qin Shangqing asked in a cold voice. His domineering aura overflowed the sky. But the elder's eyes turned cold as he slapped Luo Long's face. He roared, "You want to kill someone here? Do you have any respect for the Seaview Pavilion? Do you dare to ignore Imperial Preceptor Sun Bojun?" Junior knows his mistake. Luo Long was sent flying. He covered his face in humiliation, but he didn't dare to move. Seeing that the cabinet elder was on his side, Qin Shangqing was even more pleased. He sneered, "Since it's a VIP pavilion, we should act like one. Don't let any beast in." "Thank you for your understanding, Qin Zongzi." The cabinet elder cupped his fists and said loudly, "I hope the others can follow the rules of the auction house. All right, let's not waste any more time. The auction is about to begin." "Thank you, young master." Long Shengnan bowed and thanked him. "Don't be so polite. Tonight, you'll accompany me. No one will dare to touch you." Qin Shangqing looked confident and at ease. His face was full of disdain as he looked at Jiang Tian provocatively, revealing a trace of killing intent. This brat actually dared to slap Xiao Qingtan and Xie Tingren's faces with a chicken feather as a token of authority. "Once this matter is completed, I will kill him." Jiang Tian smiled and said, "Congratulations, young Master Qin. You've won the heart of a beauty. But be careful not to break your waist if you can't eat this beauty. Brat, you'd better behave yourself. Don't spread rumors. Otherwise, I'll kill you after everything is done." Qin Shangqing threatened Jiang Tian with his divine consciousness. "Jiang, you're not a man at all. You can't even protect your maid and humiliate us. Shameless." Xiao Qingtan and Xie Tingran stared at Jiang Tian with disdain as they communicated with each other using their divine senses. Jiang Tian ignored them and walked into the room. He said with his divine consciousness, "You've really invested a lot. You've even invited a level 3 nascent soul cultivator." "Who's Luolong?" "He's my sister's martial uncle and her right-hand man. His name is Long Luo." "How did you know?" Long Yanan sighed helplessly and her face turned bitter. His elder sister's plan was to deceive everyone, and it could be said to be incomparably exquisite. It could deceive everyone, but it could not deceive Jiang Tian. There are too many loopholes. Jiang Tian sipped the Thunderfire wine and said lazily, "That cabinet elder's hands were trembling after he beat him up. He covered it with his sleeves, but he couldn't hide from my divine consciousness. Also, I heard that the island master of Rubble Island has the bloodline of the sea serpent, but Long Luo has the bloodline of the sea serpent. It's very difficult to disguise." Long Yanan was silent for a while. She felt that the situation was not good. Suddenly, Jiang Tian shook his head and praised, "Your sister is a talent. She's a nascent soul cultivator but has the battle strength of a nascent soul cultivator. She's so talented, but she's not arrogant or arrogant. She's meticulous and watertight. She's extremely cunning and insidious." She asked Long Shui to disguise herself as the shopkeeper to attract most of my attention. Even if I recognized Long Shui, I didn't expect her to disguise herself as a maid in a small room. I was actually testing her when I danced. She was also alert, so she asked Long Luo to act with her and pretend to be pitiful. She was testing me and at the same time, she wanted to dispel my wariness. She had already recognized Xiao Qingtan and Xie Tingran, but she still didn't make a move. She even became friends with them and made them let their guard down. That was to wait for the battle to break out. She used these people as bargaining chips to threaten me and interfere with me. Now, Qin Shangqing has also become her hostage. Her ruthlessness and viciousness are only a little inferior to mine. If she surrenders this time, I'm prepared to spare her life. You're so arrogant. My sister might not lose." Long Yanan hated Jiang Tian to the extreme, but she was so depressed that she wanted to vomit blood. She was also anxious, as if she was sitting on pins and needles. "Don't tell me you really don't plan to save Xie Tingran, Xiao Qingtan and Qin Shangqing?" Long Yanan suddenly asked. "It depends on the situation. My goal is very clear. I just want to save Ao Jiao, not them. She'll kill her, I'll kill mine. These people are insignificant to me." Jiang Tian sipped the wine pot and said coldly, "When the time comes, if your sister doesn't surrender, I'll kill you. If Sun Bojun doesn't surrender, I'll kill her disciple, Qiu Yinong. You're crazy, you're a demon. Aren't you all trying to save Ao Jiao and work for the True Dragon Patriarch? How can you be so cold and heartless?" Long Yanan shouted hysterically. This is war, I can't be soft-hearted. I, Kong Teichu, have never liked to be controlled by others. Jiang Tian's eyes flashed with a trace of darkness as he smiled faintly. Chapter 1387. Time passed quickly. The maids came back to greet the guests. More and more guests arrived. Many island masters, sect masters and family heads showed up. There were more than a dozen golden core perfected cultivators and all of them were powerful. The scale of this auction was too high. All the characters from the occupied planes had gathered, and all of them were present. Everyone, thank you for supporting the Seaview Pavilion's auction this time. Finally, the auction started. The old man flew to the middle of the stage to host the auction. He smiled and welcomed the guests. The Seaview Pavilion is a trading company established by the Dragon Gate, Jade Lake, and Ocean Billows realms. Not only do we have treasures from the Dragon Gate world, but we also have elixirs from the Jade Lake and Ocean Billows realms. There are even elixirs and heavenly elixirs. This is the benefit of connecting the three worlds. This is the blessing that Ocean Wave World has given us. Only by submitting to Ocean Wave World, relying on the ruins of deity and being loyal to the Emperor can the Dragon Gate world develop. He sighed regretfully and lamented bitterly, that's right. Back then, True Dragon Ao Feng and Ao Bo refused to submit to Ocean Wave World and the Emperor of the Ruins for their own interests. They went into seclusion and sealed themselves. We haven't even had a nascent soul heavenly lord in the past thousands of years. But the Jade Lake world, which is also a Grade 3 world, has opened its doors and pledged its loyalty to the Ruins Emperor. With the Ruins Emperor's support, it cooperated with many Grade 2 worlds and cooperated with them, achieving an explosive improvement in its cultivation civilization. There are more than a handful of nascent soul heavenly lords and countless golden core nascent soul seeds. Nascent soul cultivators are everywhere and the heavenly lord families are all here. Now, with the support of Ocean Wave World, we've already had 2 nascent soul heavenly lords with cultivation arts, pills and other cultivation resources. That's how great it is to submit to Ocean Wave World. Well said, old man. The master of Pinefish Island stood up and said, to be honest, I was stuck at the perfected foundation establishment level for 300 years and couldn't make any progress. But a fellow cultivator in Ocean Wave World taught me a few times and I became a golden core perfected cultivator in a day. This is what they mean by, a stone from another mountain can be used to polish jade. Being stuck in one's old ways and building a cart behind closed doors will never improve. True Dragon Ao clan, damn you. Following that, the island master of Wandering Cloud Island, perfected Lord Wandering Cloud, also hurriedly stood up. We have to thank the giant Shark King and Sun Bojun. They took great risks to kill Ao Bo and open the door to a new world for us. I will always remember Imperial Preceptor Sun and be eternally grateful to the giant Shark Emperor. Fellow Taoists, you're right. However, the old man would like to add a few more words. What's the use of being grateful? You need to take action. We should brazenly draw our swords and resolutely strike at the small group of people with ulterior motives led by immortal Xingui and Xiaobing. Against the enemy, one must be as merciless as the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves. For the rapid development of the Dragon Gate's new world, our sect is willing to shed our last drop of blood and fight to the last man. The sect master of the Jade Holding sect rose to his feet. His head of white hair trembled as he continued to express his stance. Following that, the island masters, city masters, family masters, and sect masters all expressed their opinions one after another, fighting to be the first to do so. It was as if they were afraid that they would be killed if they were too late. Everyone's determination to develop the Dragon Gate world is admirable. Seeing that, the cabinet elder nodded in satisfaction. He gestured with his hands to silence everyone. Facts have proven that the true Dragon Old Dynasty's path was extremely wrong. They were like mantises trying to stop a chariot, ants trying to shake a tree. They have already been crushed by the rolling wheels of history. Completely wiped out. He spoke for a while, praising the Jade Pool, Hylon, and the ruins of immortality. He treated Sun Bojun and the giant Shark King like gods, making Jiang Tian drowsy. Suddenly, the cabinet elder's expression turned solemn as he raised his arms and shouted passionately. Let us express our utmost respect to the Ruins Emperor, Long Baxia of the Hylon Dragon-rearing dynasty, Azure Emperor Qin of the Jade Pool, and His Majesty the Ruins Emperor. We Dragon Gate cultivators, Palatial Lord, may the giant shark country's emperor live forever. We wish Imperial Preceptor Sun Bojun eternal health. We wish His Majesty the Ruins Emperor to live as long as the heavens and enjoy immortal blessings forever. We will always be loyal and never betray you. We will fight to protect the Dragon Gate for the rest of our lives. He bowed deeply and spoke with the most respectful and devout voice in his life. He did not straighten up for a long time. We will always be loyal and never betray you. We will fight to protect the Dragon Gate for the rest of our lives. The sound of chairs being moved resounded out as all the cultivators present stood up and bowed deeply. Their expressions were solemn and devout, and their high battle intent shot straight into the sky as they shouted out hysterically. "Heh heh." In the private room, Jiang Tian suffused a mocking smile. He took a sip of the Thunderfire wine and shook his head. How impressive! Sun Bojun and the Giant Shark King have completely taken down this world. Everyone is united. Long Yanan was sighing when she suddenly saw Jiang Tian's disdainful gaze. She snorted coldly. Aren't you convinced? This is the human heart. This is a pack of tigers and wolves. No matter how strong you are, there's no way you can change the situation here. In order to maintain their rule, Sun Bojun and the Giant Shark King have already removed the claws and teeth of the tigers and wolves. They have lost their guts and will to resist. They are like a bunch of pugs, wagging their tails and begging for mercy. Jiang Tian said with a lazy smile. What tigers and wolves? What a joke. No matter how high their cultivation is, they are just a bunch of cowards. I can guarantee that as long as I kill the Giant Shark King and Sun Bojun and capture your sister and the rest, they will immediately submit and won't fight for you for even a second. For the development of a cultivation civilization, the ruling class must never be completely enslaved. This was because cultivators who were used to being slaves didn't care who their masters were, and they wouldn't fight for their masters. Whoever gave them food to eat was their master. If you didn't treat them as a human, how could they fight for you? The auctioneer went on stage and the auction items were presented in front of everyone. There were elixirs, dharma treasures, cultivation arts, and secret manuals. Many of them came from Hylon and Jade Lake World. They were all priceless and beneficial for cultivation. Many customers' eyes lit up as they competed to bid. There was a climax of bidding at the scene. Those who won the bid all blushed with excitement and shouted excitedly. In addition, the auctioneer was good at stirring up people's emotions. The atmosphere was heated up. When the last Dharma treasure was sold at the price of 1 billion crystal stones, the auctioneer went on stage and said happily, "Everyone, the heavenly materials and earthly treasures, man-made Dharma treasures and elixirs have been auctioned. Next is the main event, the cultivation tripod auction." As soon as the auctioneer said that, the scene became solemn. Many cultivators revealed greedy looks and almost drooled. A suitable cultivation tripod can make your cultivation progress 1,000 miles in a day. Countless cultivators can step into the foundation establishment stage overnight and reach the nascent soul stage overnight. It's even safer than swallowing elixirs and absorbing spirit stones. Besides, plucking yin to nourish yang and balancing yin and yang is the happiest thing in the world. It's so beautiful and enjoyable. As soon as the auctioneer said that, many male cultivators smiled knowingly. The female cultivators and maids blushed a little unnaturally. This old man can say shamelessly that the cultivation tripod this time is definitely the best of the best because it's a descendant of the royal family of the previous dynasty. She's a talented princess with the bloodline of a flood dragon. Perhaps in order to set off the atmosphere, the auctioneer no longer had his original sage-like and mature demeanor. Instead, he revealed a wretched expression and smiled slyly. Let's not talk about the effects of the cultivation tripod. Let's talk about Ao Jiao's identity. Think about it, she's a princess of the previous dynasty. She's delicate and noble with golden branches and jade leaves. She was once the dream lover of hundreds of millions of cultivators. She was once someone who needed to be worshipped. Now, she's still a virgin, but you've taken the lead and can pluck her freely. Just thinking about it makes one's blood boil. That sense of accomplishment, tsk, it's simply indescribable. Isn't it beautiful? Auctioneer, don't keep us in suspense. Where's the cultivation tripod? Hurry up and take it out. Whether it's a virgin or not, the old man can't wait anymore. I want to have a taste of her. The old sect master of the Baoyu sect roared loudly. He wasn't the only one. All the cultivators who came to the auction were impatient. They revealed greedy looks and urged one after another. Chapter 1388. Hurry up. I've already collected 10 billion crystals. Even if I have to spend all my wealth, I'll still win. The master of Pinefish Island looked at the sect master of Huayu's sect provocatively. He shook his storage bag and rubbed his palms, eager to fight. That's right. That's Princess Ao Jiao. If I can get close to her, it's worth it even if I lose 100 years of my lifespan. Moreover, I can extend my lifespan and improve my cultivation. Perfected cultivator Yuyun of Roaming Cloud Island looked greedy and intoxicated. He almost drooled. Hurry up. I heard that this girl is in her prime. She has delicate features, red lips, white teeth, smooth skin, and a clear voice. Good cauldron, good cauldron. Invite her out. The rest will depend on who has the most money. Everyone was impatient, and their eyes were filled with hunger. All right. Invite the cauldron. The elder shouted. Bush, bush, bush. A dazzling golden ray of light with a long tail pierced through space and tore through the night like a bolt of lightning. The rainbow light came to a stop above the auction stage. It was a 100-meter-long flying boat at the level of a true artifact. There were many complex runes carved into it, and there were many golden core cultivators standing guard. And on the deck of the flying boat was a woman. This woman was extremely beautiful. She was tall and slender, and her curves were curvaceous. Her body was shackled by invisible key shackles, and her cultivation was suppressed. She couldn't even commit suicide, and it was difficult for her to even move her fingers. Her clear and beautiful eyes flickered with unyielding anger, and her jade face was filled with resentment and hatred. Everyone the Ao family has lost. Ao Jiao's Dantian rumbled. Her phoenix-like eyes were stern as she chided loudly. But cultivators of Hai Lan and Jade Lake, don't be happy too early. The Dragon Gate world hasn't lost. There are still people fighting. The fire seed of resistance, hasn't been extinguished. Cultivators who betrayed the Dragon Gate world shouldn't be happy either. So what if you've improved your cultivation? So what if you've been rewarded with Dharma treasures? You're still someone else's dog. Slaves will always be slaves. Shut up. The elder said mockingly. You're about to become someone else's cauldron. Why are you still talking nonsense? Now the auction begins. The starting price is 1 billion crystals. Attack! At this moment, a rough and powerful shout suddenly sounded, like the roar of an angry dragon. It was Xiaobing's signal. Humph, it's time for me to make my move. Qin Shangqing's face turned cold as he stood up. His dantian rumbled as his origin qi erupted, setting off a violent qi wave that scattered in all directions. The pavilion of the box he was in exploded with a loud bang. He summoned a flying sword and was about to kill in all directions. Kill! At this moment, Xie Tingran and Xiao Qingtan both took out their treasured swords and magic treasures. They shouted in unison and were about to charge out. And how dare you resist? Long Shengnan said coldly. Qin Shangqing was stunned. He didn't understand what she meant. Then, Long Shengnan flicked her finger. With a loud bang, he was sent flying backward along with the flying sword in his hand. He only managed to stabilize himself after crashing through 7 or 8 rooms. Lowering his head, he saw that his dantian had been shattered and was dripping with blood. Even his Aurus core had been sealed by a vast amount of mana, turning him into a cripple. You have cultivation? Nascent soul? Why did you attack me? Qin Shangqing couldn't believe it. He stared at Long Xingnan with a dumbfounded expression. Wasn't this woman a maid? Wasn't she delicate and pitiful, bullied by others? How could her cultivation be so powerful? Moreover, wasn't he the hero who saved the beauty and won her favor? Just now, she called him her benefactor with admiration in her eyes. How gentle and appropriate. You're crazy. How dare you bite the hand that feeds you? Xie Tingran and Xiao Qingtan were also dumbfounded. Their long swords trembled as they stared at Long Xingnan and shouted. Take them down. With a shout, Long Xingnan didn't waste any time. She flicked her finger and with 2 pops, Xie Tingran and Xiao Qingtan's qi si was broken. Bush, bush, bush. Several maids at the side were actually at the peak of the Aurus core realm. They swarmed towards the 3 of them and instantly captured them. On Xiaobing's side he had just shouted. Long Shui, quickly walked over and frowned. Xiaobing, what are you shouting for? There's no enemy attack. You can't escape the blame for disturbing the guests. Get out of the way. I'm here today for an important matter. If you dare to stop me, I'll kill you. Xiaobing held the long spear in his hand and shot up. His body was like a dragon with a domineering aura. He flew towards the flying boat. Idiot. Long Shui, smiled coquettishly but didn't show any mercy. With a wave of her hand, more than 10 thin flying swords burst out and became bigger. Xiaobing's dantian was shattered and he fell to the ground in shock and anger. Shui Qianxing's side had just exploded. A little monkey dares to come out and cause trouble. You're courting death. Long Luo laughed. His body swayed and became 10 feet tall. He slapped down his giant palm and directly smashed Shui Qianxing into a meat patty. Before Shui Qianxing died, his face was still full of shock. He didn't understand how Long Luo, who was rumored to be a good-for-nothing, could be so powerful. In the blink of an eye, all of this had happened in the span of a few breaths. The dozens of golden core perfected cultivators who came to rescue Ao Jiao were either captured or killed. The operation had failed. Long Xingnan's attention was not on Qin Shangqing and the other 2. She captured them to exchange hostages and save her sister. Although Long Yanan's appearance had been changed by Jiang Tian, her speech and behavior couldn't be changed. Long Xingnan, who had spent a lot of time with her, still recognized her. Her second action was to fly up and rush towards Jiang Tian's box like a whistling arrow. Not only her, but Long Shui, Long Luo, and 7 or 8 heavenly lords from the Hylon world, and even a mid-stage nascent soul overlord, all rushed over and surrounded the box. Kong Teichu, hand over my sister and I'll spare your life. With a boom, Long Xingnan performed the 9 Dragons Emperor art. Her essence qi was like a raging wave hitting the shore. Jiang Tian's box was instantly smashed into pieces. But what shocked Long Xingnan was, in the box where Jiang Tian was, Jiang Tian and Long Yanan were no longer there. Even Xie Yan wasn't there. Where is he? Cold sweat broke out on Long Xingnan's forehead and her heart palpitated. This meant that Jiang Tian might have a Dharma art that could open up a dimension, or his speed was faster than her eyes and immortal will. Her immortal will had been locked on Jiang Tian's box, but she didn't know when Jiang Tian left. That was terrifying. Although she was a nascent soul cultivator, her strength was completely superior to ordinary early-stage nascent soul cultivators. Her immortal will was extremely powerful, but she didn't even know when Jiang Tian left. If Jiang Tian could open up a dimension, it would be even more terrifying. Only nascent soul heavenly lords could control space, even if it was a small forbidden area. Long Xingnan, are you looking for me? How rude. You even destroyed my private room and gave me a flask of thunderfire wine. Suddenly, a mocking laugh came from the sky. How is that possible? Long Xingnan, Long Luo and Long Shui looked up in shock. They didn't know when Jiang Tian had arrived on the flying ship silently and killed all the golden core cultivators. At this time, the bodies fell like raindrops. Even the cabinet elder had been killed at some point, and his head was lying on the ground. This was only on the surface. There were 3 early-stage nascent soul heavenly lords hiding on the flying ship, planning to ambush the people who came to rescue, including Jiang Tian. But at this time, the the 3 heavenly lords were also killed silently by Jiang Tian. Killing heavenly lords without a sound. What kind of terrifying existence was this? At this time, Jiang Tian not only arrived on the flying ship and killed all the guards, but also broke the restriction chains of Ao Jiao. He lay lazily on the bed, waved his folding fan gently and opened his mouth to eat a grape handed to him by Long Yanan. At the side, Long Yanan's eyes were filled with tears as she held a fruit platter, and she stood by Jiang Tian's side while trembling with fear like a maid. Chapter 1389. Cultivate. What a powerful movement technique. Long Xingnan gritted her teeth as her eyes turned sharp. She never expected Jiang Tian to be that powerful. She had carefully set up an ambush and surrounded him heavily, but she still failed to stop him. Now, Ao Jiao had been rescued by Jiang Tian. She had very few chips left. She only had Xia Tingran, Shao Qingtan, Qin Shangqing and company. Kong Teichu, you are quite a talent. If you release my sister and pledge your loyalty to our sea below world, I'll let bygones be bygones and spare your life. Long Xingnan bellowed. Long Xingnan, you should know that your Hui dragon lineage was originally rearing flood dragons for His Majesty, Ao Emperor. Jiang Tian's posture was languid as he sipped his thunderfire wine. He said with a smile, I heard that your ancestors were hot-blooded and outspoken. They once fought a bloody battle for Emperor Zhongli, Ao Emperor, and the ancient Earth's interstellar migration. Many of them were suppressed and killed by the Ruins Emperor. It was truly admirable. Jiang Tian's eyes revealed a look of disdain as he shook his head with a bitter smile. As their descendants, why did you submit to that old wretch, the Ruins Emperor? Why did you submit to him when you were so beautiful? Now, all of you are submitting to the Ruins Emperor and groveling. Aren't you letting down your ancestors? Jiang Tian guided patiently. Why don't we bury the hatchet and work together to break through the clouds and storm the ruins of immortality? We can behead the Ruins Emperor and seek justice for your Hui dragon lineage. Wouldn't that be wonderful? The moment Jiang Tian said that, the entire area fell silent. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian as though he was a lunatic in disbelief. The Ruins Emperor's strength was unfathomable. He was like a peerless god, lofty and exuding an imperial might. He ruled over all the races in the various worlds of the Ruins of Immortality, overlooking the endless territories of the Ruins of Immortality. For tens of thousands of years, no one dared to challenge him or resist him. Even if Jiang Tian had the strength of a nascent soul and was shockingly talented, challenging the Ruins Emperor was akin to a street basketball enthusiast claiming that he wanted to beat Jordan or Kobe Bryant. He was completely oblivious to the immensity of heaven and earth. He was courting death. Kong Teichu, you are too arrogant. No one could do that. Only death awaits those who resist. Long Xingnan shook her head in slight ridicule. Everything I've set up today was to lure you here. How could I not be confident? You can't escape, just surrender. You want to kill me? Do you know how many nascent soul heavenly lords I've killed? Jiang Tian smiled. You think it's just us? This time, I even invited many fellow Taoists from the third and second dimensional worlds to help me. Fellow Taoists, come out and meet fellow Taoist Grand Primordium. Following Long Xingnan's shout. Rumble! Rumble! The energy of a nascent soul heavenly lord rose from every corner of the island and soared into the sky. Swoosh! Swoosh! Streaks of light and rainbows, dragging long tails behind them, shot out from all around the 18 islands. More than 10 nascent soul heavenly lords floated in the air like gods and Buddhas, trapping Jiang Tian in the middle. Kong Teichu, surrender! Sun Bojun, the sword artist of the ocean cover, shouted loudly with his nascent soul. His eyebrows were raised and his sleeves fluttered like an immortal. Kong Teichu, you can't do it. Only death awaits you if you resist. Let him go and admit your guilt. The giant shark king's body was huge and his aura was strong. His eyes were cold and he roared like a black shark, revealing his white teeth. His aura was extremely terrifying. Sun Bojun, giant shark king, you two are like dogs. How dare you talk to me? Get your master out here. Jiang Tian was disdainful and arrogant. The two of them were enraged. However, what Jiang Tian said was the truth. This time, even the realm lord of the level 3 Jade Lake world, Emperor Qin, had come personally. Many powerful warriors of the level 2 Sea Below world had also come. There were even war gods from the western desert and the southern barbarian world. Kong Teichu, don't be so arrogant. How dare you kill a few heavenly lords of the Jade Lake? I won't let you go this time. Admit defeat or die, you choose. Everyone was shocked when they saw the master of the Jade Lake, Emperor Qin, accompanied by Crown Prince Qin Bahuang. Their viciousness was fierce and their energy seemed to be able to tear the world apart. Then, one after another, the nascent soul heavenly lords roared and released their dharma bodies. Some were as hot as fire, some were as heavy as thousands of mountains, some were as ethereal as clouds, and some were as sharp as swords. A nascent soul heavenly lord already had the power to destroy rivers and seas. What did a dozen nascent soul heavenly lords do at the same time? Violent pressure swept out in all directions, causing numerous mountains to collapse, towering trees to snap like withered grass, and in the next moment, they were torn into gales by the chaotic force, causing palaces to collapse and buildings to transform into broken walls and ruins. The entire 500-mile area around the 18 islands shook violently as if there were an earthquake, as if it were about to collapse in the next second. Rumble. Within a radius of a few thousand miles around the island, the sea of clouds high up in the sky was swept clean. The 1,000-meter-tall waves overflowed into the sky, capsizing giant ships. Thunderclaps exploded, and 10-mile-long thunderbolts were like giant dragons baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. Heavy rain poured down, and the weather changed. Oh my God, is the sky falling and the earth rending? It said that such a terrible change only happened during the era of breaks in history. The energy spread 3,000-mile radius. Not to mention the 18 islands, even the entire Dragon Gate world was startled. Countless cultivators raised their heads and looked over with fear and trepidation. Since you're so stubborn, I won't waste my time talking to you. I'll crush each and every one of you into meat paste. Facing the violent storm of pressure, Jiang Tian was like a gentle breeze brushing past his face. He did not move at all, and even his clothes did not flutter. His vast forbidden area even enveloped the entire flying ship, as if it was in another world. Even Dragon Lady Ao Jiao wasn't affected at all. Who is he? Why did he save me? Why isn't he afraid of those nascent soul heavenly lords? At this moment, Ao Jiao looked at Jiang Tian with admiration. Her heart was in a daze and her eyes were blank and intoxicated. So, the target of this furnace auction wasn't us. It was to attract and deal with Kong Teichu alone. We're just pitiful creatures who don't know what's good for us and want to die. At this time, Xiaobing was lying on the ground like a dead dog, trembling. He had mixed feelings and was extremely shocked. So, what he said was true. There are dozens of nascent soul heavenly lords here. How ridiculous! We didn't know what's good for us and came here to die. After figuring this out, Xiaobing regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. Sensing Ao Jiao's admiring gaze towards Jiang Tian, Xiaobing felt that he was extremely ridiculous. I thought I was a romantic and brave man and mocked him for being weak and incompetent. It turns out that he has already seen through everything. Qin Xianxia shook his head and sighed. His face was full of shame and he wanted to cry. It turns out that the so-called maid is actually the princess of the Hailan world, the genius on the god of war list, Long Shengnan. Saying that he was resourceful, saying that he was elegant, but in the end, he was schemed against like a stupid pig. Even his dantian was destroyed by someone with a raise of his hand. Speaking of which, their battle awareness was far worse than Jiang Tian's. Whether it was Xiaobing or Qin Xianxia, compared to Jiang Tian, they were too weak. When they met Long Shengnan was beautiful and pitiful, so they let their guard down. Qin Xianxia seemed to be hot-blooded, but he was extremely stupid. He didn't know that those women were not only stronger than them, but also more meticulous and ruthless. He wasn't like Jiang Tian. He didn't care how pretty, how gentle, and how gentle she was when she begged him. He only cared about being completely focused on his target and being on guard against everything. He saw everything clearly and directly pointed out the truth and essence. Chapter 1390. What a joke! I thought he coveted my beauty. So he was just using me to hide his identity. He even killed the heavenly monarchs of the Jade Pool like they were nothing. Even the giant Shark King and Sun Bojun were not qualified to talk to him on equal terms. Why would he fancy me? Xie Tingran was also captured and became a prisoner. Looking at Jiang Tian, who was facing the pressure of more than a dozen nascent soul heavenly monarchs alone, she felt that her previous actions were so laughable. She couldn't help but recall Jiang Tian's words, "It is your honor to be my shield." Back then, she scolded Jiang Tian for not knowing the immensity of heaven and earth. Now that she thought about it, it wasn't an exaggeration at all. Jiang Tian alone had attracted more than a dozen nascent soul heavenly monarchs of the war god list. Regardless of victory or defeat, Jiang Tian was enough to look down on the entire Dragon Gate world. In the past, they were known to be brave and good at fighting. But when they encountered nascent soul heavenly monarchs, they ran faster than rabbits. What a joke! I actually wanted to kill him. If I really attacked, I'm afraid I wouldn't even be able to block one of his fingers. Xiao Qingtan was also scared and regretted her stupidity. She could not help but recall Jiang Tian's words, "Good words cannot persuade those who deserve to die." That was true. In fact, this battle was a peak battle between nascent soul heavenly monarchs. More than a dozen nascent soul heavenly monarchs were mobilized to kill Jiang Tian and rescue Long Yanan. Golden Core and Foundation establishment cultivators like them were like ants in such a great battle. They would be crushed to pieces with a raise of a hand. They were not qualified to participate at all. They were just sending themselves to their deaths. Long Xing'an. Bai Zhe also flew onto the flying boat, his eyes filled with arrogance as he said, "Isn't the Lord's words very right? We should conquer the Sea of Stars and crush the Ruins Emperor's dog head. What's the point of always thinking about the inferior world? Long Xing'an, hurry up and submit to me. Don't you like Xianlong? I, the purple gold true dragon, love to keep human pets. You will be my human pet from now on." The old dragon in the form of a big black dog roared arrogantly. Long Xing'an was so angry that her nose became crooked. Fight. In the end, the true dragon ancestral patriarch stepped forward and shouted, "The Dragon Gate world will never submit. We will defend Earth and fight the Ruins Emperor. My lord will flatten everything. All of you, quickly retreat. True Dragon Patriarch, you're still alive." Others might not recognize him, but Sun Bojun and the Giant Shark King were his old subordinates. They immediately revealed looks of shock. "Ancestor, you have to avenge us." Seeing that the true dragon old ancestor had personally come, Ao Jiao could no longer hold it in and directly burst into tears of joy. "Child, you've suffered. It's my fault. But don't worry. This blood feud must be avenged today, and they must pay back 100-fold. From now on, they won't be able to harm even a finger of yours." The true dragon looked at her lovingly and said with a gloomy face, "Ancestor, save me. We're all fighting for the true dragon bloodline. We're all loyal. You and Jiang Tian can't abandon us." Only then did they realize that Jiang Tian's old servant was the famous true dragon ancestral patriarch. They could not help but shout as if they were drowning people clutching at straws. Sun Bojun's eyes flashed. He raised his hand and pulled Xiao Qingtan over. He pinched her snow-white neck and threatened coldly, "Ao Feng Kong Teichu, don't kill anymore. As long as you let Long Yanan go and surrender, we'll immediately sign a ceasefire agreement. We won't kill you all. Instead, we'll nurture you. If you don't surrender, all of these hostages will die today. They're fighting for you and are loyal. Are you willing to watch them die?" Xiao Qingtan was so scared that she peed her pants. Tears fell like rain as she shouted, "Ancestor, perfected cultivator Jiang, save me. I don't want to die." Ao Feng's face was as calm as still water. Jiang Tian, on the other hand, was calm. "Kill them all. I just want to kill all of you. I don't care who gets killed. You can kill them all you want. Do you want me to sharpen your knife for you?" Although Jiang Tian was smiling, his eyes were incomparably cold, as if they were hanging high up in the sky, without the slightest ripple. What? Everyone was shocked and couldn't believe it. They had never thought that Jiang Tian would be so cold-hearted and vicious as to watch such a cute girl be killed. This is the true nature of a heavenly lord. A real overlord has no weaknesses. He won't back down even if his family and friends are in the enemy's hands. But I heard that he rose to power on Earth. How did such a gentle and low-level civilization develop such a demonic mentality? Only some of the experienced nascent soul heavenly lords were frightened, as if they had seen a ghost. Perfected cultivator Jiang, save me. Xiao Qingtan's clear and beautiful eyes were filled with tears, and her ghastly pale face was filled with fear. Her delicate body trembled, and dazzling waves rippled before her fair chest. Her pair of slender and beautiful legs kicked powerlessly, and her delicate cherry lips trembled as she begged bitterly. Just surrender. Isn't it great to sign a truce and return peace to this world? Didn't you say that I'm not a man and I can't even protect a maid? I didn't even dare to attack Long Luo, let alone so many heavenly lords. Jiang Tian said with a smile. Jiang Tian's cold and indifferent attitude caused Xiao Qingtan's heart to fall into an abyss. His entire body went cold as despair and regret filled his heart, causing him to feel extremely bitter. If she hadn't been so rude to him before, maybe he would have helped her then. He was able to kill his way into the encirclement and save Ao Jiao. Now, he can also save me and escape unscathed. Unfortunately, it was too late. Sun Bojun, are you going to kill me or not? Jiang Tian's eyes were cold and he mocked. Aren't you famous in the Dragon Gate world? So soft-hearted, what a sissy. I despise you. If you don't dare to do it, I'll do it for you. You won't survive if you don't go crazy. This guy is like a devil. He's too terrifying. Everyone was terrified. But I'll kill you. Sun Bojun's eyes were red as he shouted. He shook his arm and turned Xiao Qingtan into a cloud of blood mist. Even her divine soul was destroyed. It was a pity that this peerless beauty who was ranked in the top 10 of the Dragon Gate world had perished just like that, turning into dust. Master, don't kill her. Kong Teichu has cast the soul-swallowing death curse on me. At this moment, Qiu Yinong screamed, her beautiful face turning pale. But it was too late. Sun Bojun was full of killing intent and attacked quickly. What? You're under his spell? Sun Bojun couldn't believe it. Grandmaster Jiang might be Kong Teichu. He could hide it from others but not from Long Shengnan and the others. They already knew that he was involved in the operation. But to avoid alerting the enemy, Sun Bojun didn't ask Qiu Yinong. Instead, he searched her body with his divine sense and didn't find any spells or restrictions. He didn't expect Jiang Tian to cast a spell on her. Yes, it's time for you to die. You can get your lunchbox now. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. He did not show any mercy as he unleashed his soul-devourer's spiritual sense. Bang! Qiu Yinong's head exploded like a watermelon and her headless body fell to the ground. Kong Teichu, you're so cruel. Sun Bojun's eyes were wide open and his body trembled. He almost spurted out blood. Qiu Yinong was his favorite disciple. She was talented and had a bright future. In the future, she had hopes of becoming a golden core perfected essence cultivator and even a nascent soul heavenly lord. It could be said that he had placed too much of his hopes on her, and she also bore the weight of his countless efforts. But now, she was killed by Jiang Tian in the blink of an eye. Yes, you're not as cruel as I am. Jiang Tian threw out Sha Qianxiu and Lin Shiling's heads and said coldly, I'm good at killing people. Sha Qianxiu died in front of me and Lin Shiling was killed by my sword. What do you think of these two gifts? Kong Teichu, I'll fight you to the death today. The giant Shark King and Sun Bojun were heartbroken when they saw this, and they roared in unison. Their furious roars were like surging thunder, and they wished for nothing more than to tear Jiang Tian into pieces to vent their hatred. Chapter 1391. He is so cruel. We shouldn't have offended him. At this moment, Xiao Bing and the others were trembling in fear and regret. They didn't expect that Jiang Tian wouldn't save them at all. They regretted that they shouldn't have offended Jiang Tian. Otherwise, Jiang Tian might have taken their lives into consideration. I wonder if immortal Xianxia will succeed in the ambush in Dragon City. He will take a few hostages in exchange for our lives. Suddenly, a glimmer of hope flashed in Xie Tingren's eyes. They had split into two groups. Immortal Xianxia had led many experts to the ambush in Dragon City to distract Sun Bojun and the Giant Shark King so that the Seaview Pavilion wouldn't be so heavily guarded. It would be easier for them to succeed. However, at this moment, perfected Lord Xianxia, who was covered in blood, flew over on his flying sword and shouted with his divine consciousness, "Master Xianxia! Xiao Bing, the assassination in Dragon City has failed." Mr. Jiang was right. There are 3 nascent soul heavenly lords in Dragon City. Many heavenly lords from Hai Lan and Jade Lake are here. We were caught unprepared, and even your father died in battle. You should run. His voice stopped abruptly because he had seen everything clearly. He was too late. Xiao Bing and the others were all captured. Xiao Bing and Xie Tingren's heart sank. They didn't expect that even their last hope would be destroyed. Sigh, this Mr. Jiang's plan is flawless and flawless. We are so stupid. Xie Tingren burst into tears. At this moment, she wanted to kill herself. Jiang Tian and ancestral patriarch Xie Yan had advised her many times. If she had listened to them, she wouldn't have ended up in such a miserable state. My father is dead. He was killed by me. I am not a hero. I am a bear. I am a club. Xiao Bing felt even more sorrowful. He howled miserably like a puppy that had been whipped by its owner. He was arrogant and conceited, looking down on Jiang Tian too much. He didn't listen to his advice and even caused the death of his younger sister and father. Immortal Xianxia, come here. My ancestral patriarch and Jiang Tian are in charge here. Ao Jiao said. What? This old servant was actually ancestor Ao Feng. This young Master Jiang is actually a heaven monarch. Perfected Lord Black Turtle was greatly shocked. Confused to the extreme, he flew to the flying boat with a few defeated soldiers in a daze. Long Shengnan, do you still want to continue killing? However, the next person I'm going to kill is Long Yanan. Jiang Tian didn't care about this little episode at all. His eyes were indifferent and emotionless as he waved his finger. With a sharp sound, a sharp Gung-Jin saber light slashed down. Long Yanan let out a blood-curdling scream as tears streamed down her face. One of her arms fell to the deck, and blood gushed out like a tide. Fairy Xingnan, fellow Taoists, what should we do? At this moment, even Sun Bojun was panicking. He glanced at Long Xingnan with a serious expression, as if he was facing a great enemy. Kong Teichu was truly too vicious. He treated human lives like grass and did not even blink when he killed. He also did not care about the lives of the captives in the Dragon Gate world. Slaughtering the hostages was like a game to him. Sun Bojun could confirm that Jiang Tian could kill Long Yanan at any time. Long Shengnan's plan was far-reaching. She thought that as long as she captured many Dragon Gate cultivators who resisted, she could make Jiang Tian hesitate and let Long Yanan go. She could even make Jiang Tian surrender without a fight. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian was so cold-blooded and ruthless that he did not care about the lives of the people at all. His goal was only to kill everyone. Let them go. Long Shengnan gritted her teeth and said. Xiao Bing, Xie Tingren, Qin Shangqing and the others were released. They were taken to the flying boat by perfected Lord Black Turtle, but they were so scared that they all hid behind Patriarch True Dragon and cowered like quails, not daring to say a word again. At this moment, Long Shengnan felt that Jiang Tian was like a hedgehog that she could not bite at all. She gritted her teeth and said, Kong Teichu, you're holding a woman hostage. What kind of ability is that? If you have guts, let's not do anything to the hostages and have a fair duel. If you win, we'll leave this world. A fair duel? Are you kidding me? Jiang Tian said with disdain, you're a group of nascent soul heavenly lords. What kind of duel is this? We outnumber you and we're stronger than you. How we kill you will be up to us. If you don't let them go, I won't show any mercy. Not only will I kill you, but I'll also attack Earth and kill your parents and relatives. In the crowd, Emperor Qianxia sneered and snorted. In fact, everyone had expected this outcome. Kong Taichu was not a fool. How would he dare to fight with so many nascent soul heavenly lords? He seemed to be only at the golden core level. Even if he had a secret art and could kill one or two nascent soul heavenly lords, he was no match for so many nascent soul heavenly lords. Emperor Qianxia, how dare you shout in front of me? Jiang Tian laughed. Suddenly, the soul devourer's divine sense burst out and a faint divine soul came out. It was Qin Liuhe's divine soul. His body twisted and trembled uncontrollably as he screamed, "Imperial Father, save me. I don't want to die. I haven't fulfilled my filial duties in front of you. I still have a lot of unfulfilled wishes. Tai Chu, please listen to me." Emperor Qianxia didn't expect his son's divine soul to still be intact. He panicked and shouted. Emperor Qianxia was a mid-stage nascent soul heavenly lord. He was powerful and unpredictable. He had many ways to strengthen his divine soul and help others take over other people's bodies. As long as Qin Liuhe's divine soul was intact, he would be able to revive him. For them, the destruction of their bodies was not a real death. Only the destruction of their divine souls would be counted. I, Kong Taichu, am the ruler of the stellar sky boundary. All the cultivators and mortals there are my people. How many of my people have your Jade Lake army killed? Jiang Tian's face was full of sarcasm. How many people have lost their sons and daughters, sending off their children before their own? How many widows and orphans have been left behind? I want to kill your son, but you don't have the heart to do it. Have you ever thought about the despair and pain they felt when they were killed? In your eyes, in the cultivation world, the strong are respected. Whoever has the bigger fist is right. It's also fair for the strong to kill the weak. Well, now I'm stronger than Qin Liuhe. What can you do if I kill him? This, Emperor Qianxia was terrified. His outstretched hand trembled violently, but he couldn't say anything. That Jiang Tian showed no mercy. Father! As Qin Liuhe screamed in despair, the soul devourer's divine sense burst out, like thousands of tentacles dancing in the air, directly tearing Qin Liuhe's divine soul, crushing it into pieces, and then devouring it, turning it into Jiang Tian's pure spirit power. My son, you died so miserably. Emperor Qianxia felt like his heart was being stabbed by a knife. Tears of blood flowed down his cheeks. He cried to the sky and pointed at Jiang Tian. Jiang Taichu, I won't rest until you're dead. I'll tear you into pieces, extract your divine soul, and torture you for 10,000 years. Only then can I vent my hatred. Jiang Tian had killed many people, but Long Xingnan couldn't do anything. She was so angry that her face turned pale. She shouted angrily, "What will it take for you to let go of my sister?" Jiang Tian smiled and said with a mocking look, "We don't have a blood feud. Of course I can let go of your sister. But Emperor Qianxia, Sun Bojun, and the Giant Shark King all have a deep hatred for me. What if they take revenge on me? Don't talk to me with your divine senses. I want you to shout so that everyone can hear you and be a witness. Otherwise, when you tear up the contract and kill me, there will be no evidence." Long Xingnan sensed the mocking look in Jiang Tian's eyes. She secretly complained. Kong Taichu was so cunning. He wanted to use her attitude to weaken Emperor Qianxia's fighting spirit and disintegrate the alliance of the three worlds. Kong Taichu, as long as you let go of my sister. But Long Xingnan had no other choice. She shouted, all the previous grievances will be written off. I, the nightmare dragon lineage of Billow World, will definitely protect you. No one, no power will be able to harm you. Chapter 1392. Jiang Tian ignored Long Xingnan and sneered at Sun Bojun, the Giant Shark King, and Emperor Qianxia. Did you see that? In his eyes, all of you are just dogs. Your lives aren't worth anything at all. So what if I killed all of you? I'm afraid she'll agree to all my conditions to save her sister's life. What's the point of your sacrifice? It's different if you join me. I'm a person who values relationships and righteousness. No one can touch my people. Of course, Shao Qingtan isn't my people. Kong Tichu, you talk too much. Long Shengnan shouted in exasperation. How dare you show your teeth to me? Do you want me to cut off another arm of your sister's or turn her into a stick? Jiang Tian smiled. Long Shengnan was shocked and speechless. All right, the game is over. The war is about to begin. Jiang Tian's figure flickered as he flew out of the flying ship. He stood in the air and sneered. I'll give you 10 seconds. If anyone leaves the battlefield, I'll let bygones be bygones and won't take revenge. He's going to fight against so many nascent soul heavenly lords alone. Everyone was dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it. In their eyes, Jiang Tian should use Long Xingnan as a hostage as a bargaining chip to negotiate with Long Xingnan and Emperor Qinqing. They should sign a truce agreement and then fight a protracted war, which might last for several years. However, at this moment, Jiang Tian was clearly planning to start a battle. To the crowd, it was simply as if he had gone mad. Kong Teichu is too vicious. He doesn't know when to stop. The master of Pinefish Island shook his head and grunted. If he didn't kill Qiu Yinong and Qin Liuhe's divine souls, Emperor Qinqing and Long Xingnan might have let him live. But now, it's a life-and-death battle. But Kong Teichu isn't easy to deal with either. He has the power of a nascent soul cultivator. The master of Wandering Cloud Island shook his head and sighed. You'll still lose without a doubt. The old sect master of the Baoyu sect said disdainfully, that's right. More than a dozen nascent soul heavenly lords can destroy half of the Dragon Gate world. Who can defeat them? Not to mention that Emperor Qinqing and his helpers have all reached the mid-stage of the nascent soul realm. As soon as he said this, many people nodded in agreement. This Kong Teichu was famous for his ferocity and his battle prowess was monstrous. It was said that he had killed many nascent soul heavenly lords of the Jade Lake and was invincible in some level 4 worlds. But that depended on who he was facing. He was probably going to die today. Kong Teichu, dream on. Emperor Qinqing snorted and roared. Do you think you can break our alliance with just a few words? Indeed, there weren't many people who backed out. After all, their interests were intertwined with each other. Even though they knew that Long Xingnan was using them, they were also a bit disappointed. However, Sun Bojun, the giant shark king, and the others had only lost their fighting spirit. They were no longer as reckless as before. It was impossible for them to retreat now. We have no choice. Even though Yanin is in his hands and we don't want to hurt her, we have to kill him. Emperor Qinqing said coldly. We can't just leave this world. Besides, even if we do you think he'll let her go easily? Indeed. Long Shengnan said coldly, let's do it. Don't hurt my sister. Otherwise, we'll kill her. The giant shark king took a step forward, his killing intent surging as he roared. Kong Teichu, how dare you kill my beloved son, Sha Qianxiu? We can't live under the same sky. Today, I'll fight you to the death. He stepped forward like an ancient god. The air within a 10-mile radius trembled. The nascent soul in the spirit embryo roared and a 1,000-foot-tall shark Dharma idol expanded. The shark was boundlessly terrifying. Its ghastly cold eyes didn't contain the slightest emotion and were extremely bloodthirsty. Its bloody mouth seemed capable of swallowing the heavens and the earth, and its ghastly white teeth were sharp like halberds, causing it to be terrifying to the extreme. Fight. Kong Teichu, today, I'll tear you to pieces and avenge Lin Shirling and Qiu Yinong. Sun Bojun also roared furiously. The nascent soul in the spirit embryo roared and his vital qi burst out. His octopus Dharma idol was hundreds of feet tall, with 8 millstone-sized tentacles that extended deep into the endless void. The tentacles were entangled with heavenly sabers, treasure swords, giant axes, and other spirit treasures. There were even true weapons attached to each of the suckers, making him look like an 8-armed demon god. As his Dharma power erupted, his antennae stirred. With a rumble, the earth quaked, the mountains shook, and the rivers overturned. In the sea, monstrous waves that were thousands of meters high rose. The sea within a radius of dozens of miles seemed to be boiling. The momentum was astonishing. The sword overturning the sea was indeed worthy of its name. This is the power of a nascent soul cultivator. It's terrifying. Then, the energy of a nascent soul heavenly lord came down like thousands of mountains. The air within a 10-mile radius became extremely heavy. Even golden core cultivators like Xiao Bing and Qin Shangqing couldn't withstand it. Xie Tingren's face turned pale and she screamed in her mind. My master doesn't need to do anything to kill you ants. I'm more than enough. The ancestral patriarch of the true dragon sect flew to the sky like a giant dragon and shouted. Sun Bojun, Giant Shark King, back then, you were all loose cultivators and ants. I was the one who nurtured you. When have I, Ao Feng, ever mistreated you? Before I entered the Thunderlock world, you promised me that you would protect the Ao family forever and never betray them. But now, you all have sided with the ruins of immortality and are willing to be their lackeys. You destroyed my dynasty, threw my mountains and rivers into chaos, and even killed my descendants. Did you all treat the promise you made back then as nothing but fart? Nonsense. You're so stupid. What's a promise worth? Do you have the ability to push us into the nascent soul level? Faced with this accusation, the Giant Shark King was not ashamed at all. Instead, he was calm and composed as he retorted righteously. I, the Giant Shark King, only work for the strong. Emperor Qinqing is stronger than you, so you deserve to be betrayed. How much do you owe me? I'm the lord of the Dragon Gate world now. What are you? You're just a stray dog. A dog? We're all dogs. However, the master I chose is a powerhouse from the upper realm. Unlike you, you're a lackey of an abandoned person from the wasteland world. You're the shameless one. You, the true dragon. Ao Feng's eyes twitched. He was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He had never seen such a shameless person before. Ao Feng, you're the lord of the mountains and rivers. You're not as powerful as us, so it's only right that we take away your empire. Sun Bojun, the sword artist of the ocean, said with disdain. You were stuck at the golden core level for a few hundred years. Then, you went to the Thunderlock, Hailan, Chia and other broken worlds. You're really regressing. I'm afraid you haven't even reached the nascent soul level yet. And we've become nascent soul heavenly lords with the help of Emperor Qinqing and Fairy Xing. You should know that those below the nascent soul level are all ants. You're definitely no match for us. Why don't you turn over a new leaf and join the Jade Lake's Hailan army and fight Jiang Taichu together? In your dreams. Go to hell. Ao Feng shouted furiously. His energy rose from the mid-stage golden core level to the half-heavenly lord level and then to the heavenly lord level. There seemed to be no end to it. Clang. Behind him, a 1,000-foot-long flood dragon Dharma idol appeared. As he threw a punch, the dragon soared into the sky and dashed dozens of kilometers. Its two claws sliced through the air like a meteorite hitting a star. Rumble. The Giant Shark King's Dharma form didn't even last a second before it was smashed to pieces. Then, its body and nascent soul were reduced to ashes. The sword artist of the ocean was a bit more powerful, but the tentacles of the octopus Dharma form were also torn off by the dragon Dharma form. A few true artifacts given by Emperor Qinqing were crushed by the dragon Dharma form. Oh no, he's so powerful. The nascent soul of Sun Bojun, the ocean cover swordsman, immediately suffered from the backlash after his Dharma form was destroyed. He spat out blood and turned into a long rainbow to escape. He suddenly landed behind Emperor Qinqing. You're a nascent soul cultivator? How are you so powerful? Sun Bojun was scared out of his wits. He stared at the true dragon patriarch in disbelief as if he had seen a ghost. Chapter 1393. How powerful was Ao Feng now? When he was in the Thunderlock realm, he had already activated the Flood Dragon bloodline and displayed the power of his Dharma form. It had been hundreds of years since then. When Jiang Tian cultivated in seclusion under Tunguska, he took him with him so that he could absorb the spirit chi of many planets in star extermination and reach the nascent soul level quickly. More importantly, he had been following Jiang Tian closely in recent years. Under Jiang Tian's careful guidance, his cultivation had improved day by day. The benefits he had gained were unimaginable. The Dharma laws of space and thunder Dharma laws that Jiang Tian used when he formed the Golden Core to resist the thunder tribulation had made his vision much better than Emperor Qin and the others. His dragon bloodline had been fully activated. As for the elixirs, cultivation arts, Taoist heart, battle techniques and other benefits, there were countless. The flood dragon was the overlord of the sea. Sun Bojun and the giant shark king were inferior to him in terms of talent and bloodline. They had just stepped into the nascent soul realm and had been forcefully pushed up by pills. How could they be a match for him tonight? Ao Feng's eyes were indifferent and he snorted. This old man's cultivation is all thanks to my lord, Jiang Taichu's guidance. Under his guidance, this old man has one nascent soul. Compared to him, I'm like an ant, but it's enough to kill Sun Bojun. What? He created a nascent soul cultivator in one day? That's too terrifying. Is Kong Taichu so powerful? Could it be that they can really make a comeback this time? Everyone was shocked and looked at Jiang Tian in front of the flying boat. Especially the master of Pinefish Island and his traders, who were extremely uneasy. They had joined the Ocean Wave Jade Lake and acted as the vanguard. Their hands were stained with the blood of the cultivators and mortals of the Dragon Gate. They were sinful and unforgivable. If Jiang Tian wanted to punish them, they would be cut into pieces. Is he really so powerful? The true dragon ancestral patriarch reached the nascent soul level with his own strength. How powerful is he? Xiao Bing and Xie Tingran stared at Jiang Tian's tall and imposing figure with their mouths agape. Their faces were full of disbelief, as if they had seen a god. Even if Jiang Tian had stepped into the nascent soul stage, it did not mean that Jiang Tian could create another nascent soul stage cultivator in one day and guide one. It was just like how a teacher could not instantly raise the level of a student to their own level. Nascent soul and recreating nascent soul were two completely different concepts. In their eyes, Jiang Tian was like a god overlooking the mortal world. He was so high and mighty that they could only look up to him. They didn't even have the right to talk to him as an equal. Die. Ao Feng activated his Dharma, and with a loud rumble, a dragon soared into the sky and charged towards Sun Bojun. Ao Feng, you're just an ant from the lower world. How dare you kill my slave? Do you think I don't exist? Long Xingnan shouted. Her slender jade-like hand gently patted a palm-sized black box on her waist. A ray of saber light, which was hundreds of feet long, slashed out like a knife cutting water. The saber light was extremely bright, like a rising sun, illuminating the void within 100 miles. Even the stars in the sky were eclipsed. The saber light was sharp and extremely fast. Like a flash of lightning, it slashed the dragon Dharma and destroyed it quickly. The real dragon Ao Feng's spiritual embryo trembled and his nascent soul stage cultivator screamed in horror. He took a step back and his face was extremely dignified, as if he was facing a formidable enemy. There was a touch of fear in his eyes and he said coldly, "Dragon-slaying mysterious saber, a quasi-Taoist artifact. You know what's good for you." Long Shengnan smiled proudly. The saber light converged and fell into her hand. It was a long saber that looked like a crescent moon. The saber light was like flowing water, flashing and flickering. The cold killing intent was bone-chilling and shocked hundreds of miles. The power of the saber was extremely fierce. All the creatures within 100 miles could clearly feel it and were frightened. Even Emperor Qin Qing showed a little bit of fear. He subconsciously took a step back with a frightened look in his eyes. Dragon-slaying mysterious saber. The legendary dragon-slaying saber has appeared. Some of the Golden Core stage demonic beasts felt this terrifying killing intent. They were all scared out of their wits and started to curl up, trembling violently. The dragon-slaying saber was made by Ao Huang himself tens of thousands of years ago. It's used to suppress all kinds of beasts and beast cultivators. Ao Huang used to kill billions of wild beasts and beast cultivators with this saber. He was known as the leader of all beasts for an era. Long Xing held the dragon-slaying saber in her hand as if she were a peerless heavenly saber. Her killing intent was soaring and she said proudly, later, during the interstellar travel, he took over the throne of Emperor Zhongli. With this saber, he killed countless demonic beasts and rebels in the universe and continued to wander in the ruins of immortality. Emperor Zhongli took a fancy to him and abdicated his throne. Emperor Ao then led the interstellar wanderer army and conquered dozens of vast continents. After Ao Huang took over the throne, he gave this saber to my ancestor to suppress the army of billions of cultivators, especially the dragon race and other beasts. This saber contains laws and has touched the great Tao. It has surpassed a supreme-grade true artifact and is even a half-step Tao artifact. It was stained with the blood of a few soul formation grand cultivators, so it's also called the dragon-slaying saber. Ao Huang made it himself. It's the most precious treasure of the Dragon Gate, and they even brought it out today. It can kill soul formation cultivators. Staring at the saber without blinking, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. They were shocked, and their eyes were filled with fear and trepidation. The nascent soul of a soul formation cultivator would turn into a nascent soul deity and control the grand Tao of heaven and earth. They would be on par with the sky, able to turn land into rivers and move mountains and seas. They would be as powerful as deities and could be called deities in the human world. There had never been a soul formation overlord in the Dragon Gate, Jade Lake, and the Level 2 Hylon world. Those gods in the human world only existed in ancient myths and legends. And yet, this saber could kill a soul formation cultivator. Its power was beyond their imagination and they couldn't resist it. All right, Ao Feng. You've killed the giant Shark King and severely injured Sun Bojun. You've avenged yourself. Leave the rest to me. Jiang Tian said softly as he stepped forward, crossing the distance of 10 miles and shielding the true dragon ancestor behind him. Yes, master. Be careful. The true dragon ancestor was deeply moved. He bowed and cupped his fists. His figure flashed as he landed on the flying ship and clamped down on Long Yanan. How ridiculous! Then, Jiang Tian waved his fan and shook his head with a mocking look. You ignorant fool! Do you think my saber is ridiculous? Long Yanan asked coldly. It's a good saber, but you're a coward. Jiang Tian was calm and leisurely as he mocked him. Do you know that Ao Huang used this saber to attack the universe back then? He killed most of the universe destroyers who invaded Earth and the Emperor of the Ruins and his henchmen? Do you know that your ancestor used this saber to fight to protect Earth, to fight for the ruins of deity and the multidimensional worlds? He would never be enslaved. And now, with this saber in hand, you are willing to be the lackey of your enemy, the Ruins Emperor. You are serving him, but you are attacking so many loyal and righteous people. But now, you're helping Ao Huang and invading Earth. Your ancestor would jump out of his grave if he knew what you've done today. You're despicable. Did I do something wrong? Every time Jiang Tian spoke, Long Xingnan's fighting spirit and arrogance would weaken a little. Her face would also become paler. When Jiang Tian finished, her will to fight had been completely extinguished. Her pale face was covered in cold sweat and she mumbled with a confused look. Chapter 1394. Ancient Earth had suffered a great calamity, and Emperor Zhongli had led many ancient sages and deities to create dimensional worlds like the ruins of immortality. They had activated the wandering star system, migrated the twin stars of the South Gate, and Ao Huang's absolute heavenly connection. These legends were the highest taboo in the ruins of immortality. No one was allowed to mention or spread them, and few people knew about them. However, Long Xingnan knew about them. Her ancestors were all dragon-rearing followers of Ao Huang. They were close to the emperor, so they must have left behind a few words. She remembered that when she was very young, about 4 or 5 years old, she had read an ancient scroll that recorded these stories. Back then, she was filled with admiration for Ao Huang, Emperor Zhongli, and the ancient sages of Earth. Her little heart was filled with passion. She even told her sister about it. Remember, they are just losers. Remember, these stories were all made up and full of crap. The ruins of immortality will always belong to the Ruins Emperor. If you dare say a word, I'll skin you alive. However, when her father, Long Baxia, found out about it, he tore the ancient scroll to shreds. She was brutally beaten and punished to face the wall for 10 years without being allowed to take a step out. Although her passion had been extinguished, those stories were still lingering in her mind. Fairy Xingnan, he is confusing the morale of the army. This battle is of great importance. If you fail to command and the Ruins Emperor hears about it, we will all die. Seeing Long Xingnan's hesitant expression and her eyes flickering, Emperor Qinqing quickly bowed and reminded her. There is no such thing as reason or justice in this world. Whoever is strong is right, and whoever is strong is in control of the laws. Whoever dares to resist the powerful Ruins Emperor will only end up dead. Emperor Zhongli can't resist. Ao Huang can't resist. Many ancient sages can't resist. Now, Kong Teichu can't resist either. This kid is arrogant and conceited. He didn't hold Fairy Yanan hostage and insisted on fighting us. This is the best opportunity. We can't miss it. Thank you for the reminder, Emperor Chen. Hearing that, the hesitation and confusion deep in Long Xingnan's eyes disappeared. Her killing intent gathered again, and her fighting spirit soared. With that word, a great battle broke out. Kong Teichu died. Emperor Qinqing's body shook and his nascent soul roared. His body became transparent like a piece of glass, shining with divine light. Waves of azure true essence gushed out like a river. Behind him, a gigantic tree towered into the sky. Its verdant branches extended into the boundless void, as if they were carved out of jade. They emitted a pure and vast wood element zhenyuan. Balls of green zhenyuan emitted a resplendent light. They were overflowing with vitality, as if the sun and moon were revolving around them, as if they could create a world. Green jade tree dharma form. Azure the arch longevity body. This is a high-grade constitution. Back then, his gold core was also at the 6th grade. True Lord Black Turtle turned pale with fright. It was rumored that the Jade Lake world was originally a holy land for cultivation in the Kunlun Mountains of ancient Earth. During a calamity in prehistoric times, many powerful beings left Earth and ventured into space. In other words, the Jade Lake world was the real Kunlun. The Kunlun Mountains on Earth were much smaller and were only ruins left behind. Even the small world of Li Wuji's Kunlun sect was only 1/10,000th of the size of the Jade Lake world. According to the ancient records, there were many strange flowers and trees in the real Jade Lake, such as the Pearl Tree, the Jade Tree, and the Immortal Tree. There were phoenixes and luans flying and resting on them. There were also Shatang Tree, Langxian Tree, and Crimson Tree. There were also birds, snakes, 6-headed dragons, and so on. But the most powerful one was the Green Jade Tree. This divine tree was created by the world and contained endless vitality. It had many divine powers. With the tree as the foundation and resources, one could form a superior-grade golden core and nascent soul and cultivate a superior-grade constitution to become more powerful and unstoppable. Once the Green Jade Tree Dharma form appeared, its powerful true essence and the peerless energy of a nascent soul heavenly lord shrouded dozens of miles in the sky. Make the Green Jade Tree as tall as a tree with thousands of hanging green ribbons. Today, I'll use the green leaves to kill nascent soul cultivators. Emperor Qinqing yelled. His voice was like thunder. The forbidden zones were filled with green energy. Each forbidden zone was powerful enough to kill a golden core cultivator. Hundreds of forbidden zones surrounded Jiangtian, trapping the area within 10 miles and controlling all the energy and space. Emperor Qinqing was able to create several forbidden zones that were stable and lasting. He wasn't like ancestral patriarch Tai Ri, Hu Shi, Duan Muguang, and Xin Jingjing, who could only maintain the forbidden zones for a few seconds. He was much more powerful than them. How terrifying! Everyone felt a chill run down their spine. With this Green Jade Tree Dharma form, Emperor Qinqing suppressed the Jade Lake world for 1,000 years and made many heavenly lords surrender. Perfected cultivator Xiange clicked his tongue and felt worried for Jiangtian. Emperor Qinqing is a mid-stage nascent soul cultivator with a mid-grade nascent soul cultivator, but he can kill a normal peak-stage nascent soul cultivator. Who can resist him? Besides, Kong Teichu is just an ant from Earth. Emperor Qinqing didn't show any mercy. Kong Teichu is dead this time. The cultivators of the Jade Lake world, including the heavenly lords and ancestral patriarchs from the Duanmu family, the Shen family and the dragon rhinoceros Hu family, gritted their teeth with hatred in their eyes. Their men had suffered disastrous losses at the hands of Jiang Tian. Their sons had died at the hands of Jiang Tian. Their faces were covered in dirt. Naturally, they hated Jiang Tian to the bone. The Azure the Arch-Longevity body is indeed extraordinary. Even Long Shengnan revealed a look of reverence and nodded secretly. Her golden core was of a higher level, but Emperor Qinqing had a special body. The Azure the Arch-Longevity body he created with the ancient divine tree was comparable to a superior grade or even supreme grade golden core cultivator. Otherwise, the Emperor of the Ruins wouldn't have paid so much attention to him and asked him to be the vanguard of the attack on Earth. While many cultivators were smirking, thinking that Jiang Tian couldn't handle it and was about to run away. The situation on the battlefield had suddenly changed. Such a weak physique. However, I was the one who broke it with a single slash. How dare you come out and show off? Jiang Tian sighed softly, revealing a strong sense of mockery. Soon after, a sound that was like a tsunami rumbled within Jiang Tian's dantian, spreading out to a radius of 100 miles. Resplendent rays of light shot out from his body, as if a blazing sun had risen in the sky. Jiang Tian shone with divine light as he stood in the air, as if a divine king of the 9 heavens had descended. The divine disk in his dantian spun and the Dharma laws of metal that had been completely condensed jumped out and turned into a peerless heavenly blade. Clang. This strike was many times more powerful than Jiang Tian's Gingjin blade radiance. A golden stripe that was thousands of feet long cut through the sky, like a bright Milky Way falling down. It slashed Emperor Qinqing's forbidden zone and the green jade tree Dharma form. Boom. In an instant, his vast forbidden area exploded and countless sharp space fragments shot in all directions. One of them could kill a golden core cultivator. In the next moment, the green jade tree Dharma idol also suffered a violent blow. The jade-like leaves, branches, and trunks were like paper under the Gingjin saber aura. The surging green jade tree Dharma idol's green jade tree Dharma idol was constantly exploding and surging. What? Emperor Qinqing's nascent soul screamed in pain and fear. He staggered backward and tried to recall the green jade tree Dharma form. But that was only the beginning. Under everyone's shocked gaze, a dazzling golden rainbow soared into the sky like a divine dragon from the 9 heavens, rising from the ground. Within the golden streak of light, a man and a fist struck through the sky. It was as if a peerless god of war had returned to the heavens and stepped through the clouds. No one could stop him. Bang bang bang. It was as if he had destroyed a piece of wood. Emperor Qinqing's giant green jade tree Dharma form, which seemed to be able to open the sky and reshape the world, exploded inch by inch under Jiang Tian's fist and turned into true essence. Even the forbidden area of the nascent soul cultivator kept collapsing. Then, Jiang Tian pounced on Emperor Qinqing. Jiang Tian's speed was too fast. He was as fast as lightning. 100 miles passed in a flash under his feet. He quickly approached Emperor Qinqing. There seemed to be a flash of lightning in the sky. A peerless blade slashed from top to bottom and disappeared in a flash. Emperor Qinqing's Azure the Arch-Longevity body was like a piece of paper. A terrifying crack appeared from his lower abdomen to his spirit embryo, neck, head and forehead. With that crack as the center, his peerless divine body was like a broken porcelain. Spiderweb-like cracks quickly spread and covered his entire body. Chapter 1395. Boom. The Arch-Qinqing's immortal body exploded as if 10 nuclear bombs had exploded at the same time. Mushroom clouds rose in the sky. From beginning to end, it had only been 2 flicks of the fingers. Jiang Tian had only used 2 slashes to destroy the Forbidden Land, cut down the green jade divine tree, hit Bailey Changkong, killed the Arch-Qinqing and destroyed his body. The power of his slash shocked 1,000 miles. At this moment, in the sky above the 18 islands, the void within a radius of a few hundred miles was filled with terror. Everyone was flabbergasted, and the sound of people sucking in cold air rose and fell one after another. What? Perfected cultivator Xianxia cast a spell and took out his ancestral spirit treasure to protect Jiang Tian for a while. But then, his hands were shaking and he didn't even notice that his favorite Dharma artifact had fallen to the ground. Ha, ancestral patriarch. My son. The emperor has avenged you. The Duanmu family leader of the Jade Lake world was laughing, but then his laughter stopped as if an invisible hand had grabbed his throat and he couldn't make a sound. At this moment, everyone in the world was dumbfounded and they couldn't make a sound. The area within a few hundred miles was in dead silence. Everyone could only stare blankly at the peerless golden rainbow that pierced through heaven and earth, at the green jade divine tree Dharma that exploded in the sky, at the crumbling Emperor Qianqing, and at the young man shrouded in golden light. Jiang Tian stood in the sky with his black robe and black hair fluttering in the wind. He stood with his hands behind his back, like a god. How is that possible? At this moment, the nascent soul heavenly lords of the Jade Lake were dumbfounded and the Duanmu family leader almost screamed. This was the invincible the Qianqing. He was talented and powerful. He was a mid-stage nascent soul heavenly lord who had refined a green jade divine tree and formed the azure the arch longevity body. He was as invincible as a peak-stage nascent soul grand heavenly lord. Looking at the entire Jade Lake, the boundless territory, thousands of years and hundreds of millions of cultivators, not a single one of them could compare. Although the Jade Lake and the Dragon Gate were both grade 3-dimensional worlds, the Jade Lake had been developing at a rapid pace for the past 1,000 years. It was filled with talents, Gold Core realm experts, and nascent soul realm experts. It could be said that the Jade Lake world had already caught up with the Sea Waves world and the Wasteland world. It could be said that Emperor Qianqing was not only the most powerful man in Jade Lake, but also the most powerful man in many third-level dimensions. Compared to him, the true dragon ancestor was too far away. It could be said that other than the top overlords from the 5 second-level worlds, it was impossible for other nascent soul stage cultivators to kill him. In fact, not only was the head of the Duanmu family stunned, perfected cultivator Xianxia, Xiaobing and the other cultivators of the Dragon Gate were also dumbfounded. Everything before their eyes had truly exceeded their imaginations. Emperor Qianqing's strength sent chills down their spines. Shouldn't a mid-nascent soul realm cultivator like him stomp Jiang Tian to death? How could this be? Jiang Tian had killed Emperor Qianqing with only 2 slashes. But I heard that he's from Earth. Could it be that Earth has the opportunity to become an immortal like the legends say? Some cultivators were surprised. Previously, when the Ruins Emperor proposed to attack Earth, he also said that Earth had the opportunity to become an immortal. But no one believed him. Because according to the records in the ancient books, the Earth's spirit chi had been completely absorbed before the ancient sages of Earth began to wander the universe. Later, the Ao Emperor even set up the deity trap array and the spirit chi on Earth had completely withered. But now, it seemed that it was not that simple. This is Grandmaster Jiang. He's so powerful. He killed Emperor Qianqing. Lei Yongming, the cultivator who had once asked Jiang Tian to make dragon scale darts on the 18-disc islands, was dumbfounded. That's right. His real name is Kong Teichu. He's the trump card of the true dragon ancestor. The Dragon Gate world is saved this time. A bright smile bloomed on Lin Qin's face. Heavenly Lord. He's a real Heavenly Lord. Today, we're finally going to reclaim the Dragon Gate world. Today, we'll get our revenge. The humiliation of being a slave for 1,000 years will be washed away with their blood today. Ao Jiao clenched her fists. Her face was full of excitement. The way she looked at Jiang Tian was full of admiration and admiration. There was silence on the 18-disc islands at first, then there was an earth-shattering cheer. Countless people were boiling like an ocean. Everyone threw whatever they could get their hands on into the air to express their joy. Many cultivators, including perfected cultivator Xianxia, who had been fighting and resisting, also had tears streaming down their faces. The cultivators of the Dragon Gate and billions of living beings had been waiting for this day for too long. Whether it was the mortals who had knelt and surrendered under Sun Bojunt's pressure, The cultivators who had risen and fought bravely, or the old monsters like the true dragon ancestor who had hidden from the world, who would be willing to be a slave? Who would be willing to give up their dignity and be trampled on? Ancestors, Kong Techu is fighting for the Dragon Gate. Today, we can finally avenge our humiliation. The true dragon ancestor mumbled. A heavenly lord. Only when a heavenly lord was born could a country, a race, and a world establish itself in the ruins of deity. Otherwise, they would only be humiliated and treated as slaves and dogs. That day, Jiang Tian had appeared out of nowhere and killed Emperor Qinqing with 2 slashes. That was a great deterrent. Even if they wanted to invade the ruins of deity, they wouldn't be able to do it overnight. A nascent soul cultivator was a deterrent. Any overlord who wanted to kill a nascent soul heavenly lord would have to pay a heavy price, unless their level was too high, such as the soul formation level. But there weren't many soul formation cultivators in the ruins of deity. Besides, once a nascent soul cultivator exploded, it would be like 1,000 nuclear weapons exploding at the same time. Even a soul formation cultivator would find it difficult to resist. It didn't matter whether Jiang Tian was a nascent soul heavenly lord or not, but Jiang Tian had more than one nascent soul heavenly lord. That was enough. 100 miles away, a nascent soul suddenly appeared. Wood elemental true essence surged around it. A moment later, Emperor Qinqing's body was reformed. He wasn't dead yet. The vitality of a nascent soul cultivator was many times stronger than that of a golden core cultivator. Any nascent soul heavenly lord would have a hard time killing it. Even if their bodies were destroyed, the destruction of their spirit embryos wasn't fatal. Only by destroying their nascent souls, which were like second incarnations, and destroying their souls, could they be considered truly dead. However, Emperor Qinqing was extremely miserable right then. His body was covered with cracks like a spider web, as if he could collapse at any time. That was why his body wasn't stable. Jiang Tian's strength was too terrifying. Just now, he had shattered the Dharma form with a few punches. Just now, the saber strike almost split his nascent soul. He was already very lucky to be able to escape with a few nascent soul escape arts. You're still alive. Not bad. But you won't have a chance this time. Jiang Tian had been too careless. He didn't use the divine power of the 9 divine bodies on the divine plate. Bang! Jiang Tian stepped forward. Golden flames burned and ripples appeared under his feet. He approached Emperor Qinqing step by step. Fellow cultivator Grand Primordium, I admit that I underestimated you. We can negotiate again. Emperor Qinqing lowered his arrogant head, talking to Long Xingnan with his soul consciousness, quickly communicating with her. His forbidden zone was broken and his Dharma form was destroyed. It would take him at least 100 years to recover to his peak state. Then he finally realized how powerful Jiang Tian was. He definitely had the strength to fight with a nascent soul cultivator. Long Xingnan thought for a while, then took a deep breath and said coldly, Kong Techu, if you let go of our sister, we'll leave the Dragon Gate world immediately and never come back. We'll support you to be the leader of the Dragon Gate. If you don't believe me, we can make a divine soul contract. Jiang Tian grunted and didn't stop. Kong Techu, do you really want to fight to the death? I have the Dragon Slayer sword and a few mid-stage nascent soul heavenly lords here. If you push us too far, we'll drag you down to the abyss of death. If you die, if we want to attack the Earth realm, it will be like entering an uninhabited land. Who can protect us? Long Xingnan raised her eyebrows and shouted. Do you think you're qualified to talk to me about fighting to the death? Don't you think you're underestimating my abilities too much? Today, I'll kill you until you're in despair. Jiang Tian laughed and reached out to grab Emperor Qinqing. In the void, a gigantic Gingjin palm was formed. It was enormous and covered the sky as if it was formed from a golden elixir. It emitted an immortal and indestructible aura. In front of the giant palm, the space cracked inch by inch. The terrifying aura of gung metal surged out like stormy waves, filling up the void and causing everyone's hearts to palpitate. The golden giant palm was so fast that it almost tore the air. It was still in front of Jiang Tian a second ago and suddenly appeared in front of Emperor Qin. Chapter 1396. Kong Teichu, you've gone too far. Emperor Qin gritted his teeth and roared. Clang. He took out a defensive true treasure, wanting to block the attack. That true artifact had an extraordinary origin. It was a divine wood that grew in the place where an ancient soul formation grand cultivator passed away. That divine wood had absorbed the essence and soul of the ancient grand cultivator for thousands of years and contained divine laws. After thousands of years of refinement by the predecessors of the Heavenly Path sect of Jade Lake, it had finally become a true artifact shield, which could withstand dozens of attacks from normal nascent soul cultivators. The divine wood shield instantly emitted an immeasurable amount of light, dazzling and eye-catching. But everything was useless in front of Jiang Tian's hand. It collapsed in a blink. Then he grabbed Emperor Qin and crushed his body. Countless broken bones and blood splashed. Save Emperor Qin. Everyone was dumbfounded. They had never thought that Jiang Tian would be so fast. He was able to travel 100 miles in a flash. Hearing Prince Chen Bawang scream, many nascent soul cultivators finally reacted and rushed towards Jiang Tian. Kill! Yin Lingji was silver and was enveloped in an aura. He was the sect master of a large sect in the Hailan world. He was an early-stage nascent soul cultivator and was famous there. This time, he had been invited to help Longshingen. Then, he flapped his silver wings and turned into a beam of silver light, breaking the air and arriving at 20 times the speed of sound. He attacked Wei to save Zhao. The sharp silver spear in his hand pierced through the air towards Jiang Tian. Everyone was dizzy and only saw a beam of silver light. So powerful! Perfected cultivator Xingge was terrified. Yin Lingji could dominate the Dragon Gate world with that attack alone. Not even ancestral patriarch True Dragon was a match for him. That silver light was indestructible as it tore through the sky. Wherever the tip of the spear passed, it destroyed everything in its path, and even terrifying cracks appeared in the void. Clang! A loud bang shook the universe. Jiang Tian flicked his finger. His jade-white finger lightly tapped on the silver light. Then Yin Lingji's figure suddenly flashed in the air, the resplendent silver aura also solidified into a long spear, and Jiang Tian's finger was on the tip of the spear. The spear was bent to the extreme, almost breaking. Everyone was shocked to see that Yin Lingji's face was flushed red. It was obvious that he had used all of his strength, but the long spear was unable to advance any further. Bang! With a loud explosion, the silver spear was broken into pieces, and Yin Lingji was sent flying through the air. Only when he was 50 miles away did he stabilize himself. Everyone watched in horror as he spat out blood and ceaselessly gasped for breath. The clothes he wore were in tatters, and his eyes were filled with shock and terror. His silver spear was a heavenly material named Silver Xian weapon. It was ever-changing and extremely sharp. It was also a top-grade offensive true weapon. However, even Jiang Tian's finger couldn't block it. At this time, Emperor Qin's body exploded. His nascent soul screamed in fear and jumped out, trying to escape. At this moment, a black vortex like a black hole suddenly appeared in Jiang Tian's dantian, showing an unparalleled devouring power. It dragged his body together with his nascent soul and was about to devour it completely. Let me do it! In the crowd, a muscular man squatted in the air and shot out toward Jiang Tian. It's Man Gu! This time, my father should be saved. Chen Bawang's eyes were filled with shock and hope. Man Gu came from the second-grade dimension world, the southern barbarian field. Like Longshingen, he was extremely talented and ranked 93rd on the God of War list. He had the barbaric golden body. This body constitution didn't cultivate Dharma forms, but it was like a golden core cast on his body. His body was extremely powerful and invincible. He himself was a master of combat skills. In close combat, he could forcibly break the forbidden area and tear a nascent soul realm cultivator apart. He was invincible in the wild world. Even Emperor Qin had to rely on him and didn't dare to act rashly. Man Gu took a step in the air, causing the void to explode. Each step he took, he would shoot out dozens of miles. Moreover, his body would double in size. When he arrived in front of Jiang Tian, he was already 100 meters tall, just like a giant spirit god. Man Gu, who was 100 meters tall and looked like an ancient giant, stomped on the void and dashed over like a giant war chariot. Jiang Tian put his hands behind his back. The vortex in his dantian was devouring Emperor Qinqing's nascent soul happily. He clenched his other hand into a fist and punched out calmly. Boom! No one could describe the power of this punch. In front of Jiang Tian's fist, the void was forcefully crushed and exploded inch by inch. The world was in chaos and the galaxy shook. Everyone only saw a dazzling golden rainbow explode from Jiang Tian's fist, penetrating through Mangu's chest and shooting out to hundreds of miles away. Cracks appeared on the protective formation of the camp, and a loud boom resounded. Arg! Mangu screamed. Its huge body was like a rag doll that had been thrown out by a naughty child. It tumbled and flew out. Rumble! Thunderous sounds came from Mangu's body while he was still in the air. Countless bones in his body were broken. There was a giant hole in his chest and people could see the golden organs and bones inside. If Mangu didn't have a special body constitution, which was comparable to a sacred body, and Jiang Tian didn't use his full strength, Jiang Tian could have killed him. Estige. At this moment, even Long Xingnan gasped. Many cultivators of the Jade Lake, Hai Lan and the Man Yi were startled. The dignified Man Gu, who was famous in the second-level dimension, the Man Yi, was ranked 93rd on the war god list of the immortal ruins, which was on par with her. He was known to have a gold core body and had an indestructible body. Yet, he couldn't even withstand Jiang Taichu's fist. In particular, some nascent soul heavenly lords could tell that Jiang Tian didn't use any dharma power at all. Instead, he punched with his physical body. He was giving Jiang Tian a taste of his own medicine. This is too frightening. Is this kid really from Earth? Chen Bahuang was so shocked that his eyes almost popped out. He thought he had a chance to save Emperor Qinqing's nascent soul when he saw Mangu attack. However, Jiang Tian's punch shattered all his fantasies. Bang! This time, Jiang Tian took the initiative to attack. His body swayed, and the Kunpeng moved at an extreme speed. Like a flickering light or a passing shadow, he moved out of the space and appeared above the Jade Lake's camp. His huge golden palm covered the sky and slapped down. Kill. Fairy Sheng, use your blade. At this moment, many nascent soul heavenly lords of the Jade Lake were terrified. Some released their dharma forms and shot to the sky. Some tried to imprison Jiang Tian to resist the giant hand. Chen Bahuang even turned pale and asked Long Xingnan for help. So many nascent soul heavenly lords attacked together, which was terrifying. The air within dozens of miles was crushed, as if the world were about to collapse. Boom! However, Jiang Tian's divine body of gung metal had evolved into the gung metal immortal body. The laws of gung metal were solid and he could control the laws. How could they resist? Under Jiang Tian's gung metal giant palm, all the forbidden zones were shattered and many dharma forms were shattered. In the end, the palm landed on the nascent soul heavenly lords and smashed them down like rain. At least half of them died. If Chen Bahuang and the other 3 nascent soul heavenly lords hadn't given up at the last moment and escaped, the Jade Lake heavenly lords would have been annihilated. Chapter 1397. Clatter, 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 clatter. The Jade Lake army was defeated. Chen Bahuang flew behind Long Xingnan and his face turned pale. He couldn't even stand still and his teeth were chattering. Kill! Suddenly, Long Xingnan shouted and the dragon-slaying sword in her hand turned into a beam of blade aura, flying towards Jiang Tian. Everything within 100-mile radius went silent. At that moment, even the nascent soul cultivators felt as if their divine souls were being swallowed by the dragon-slaying sword. It wasn't an illusion. When the slash was made, all the energy within 100-mile radius was swallowed and even the true essence of some golden core perfected cultivators were sucked away. The glittering blade aura tore the dimension apart and stirred up the chaos. Even the thunder tribulation turned into several lightning dragons, following the blade aura towards Jiang Tian. The blade aura was peerless and carried endless viciousness. It let out a shrill cry, like the cries of ghosts from hell. It traveled 20 miles and went towards Jiang Tian. Wherever the blade aura passed, the entire Seaview Pavilion, which was engraved with countless rune arrays and could resist the attacks of core formation cultivators or even nascent soul cultivators, was completely penetrated like paper. It didn't even last a second. The world was split into two by the saber light. The saber light was ferocious as if it could cut through the world with one slash. The mighty saber might seem to shake the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Tens of millions of cultivators trembled in fear and were completely intimidated by this slash. Those shrill cries were the souls of the incarnations killed by the dragon-slaying sword back then, which were then absorbed and turned into blade intent. Any nascent soul cultivator who touched it would have their nascent soul cracked and their dharma bodies weakened. Even soul formation cultivators would have to deal with it and wouldn't dare to fight it head-on. Kong Teichu, I'll kill you with this slash. After the slash, Long Xingnan suddenly clutched her chest and revealed a pained expression. Blood seeped out from the corner of her mouth and she gasped for breath. However, her gaze was exceptionally resolute. She was filled with boundless determination and confidence. A quasi-doctrine artifact contained the truth of the world and was much more powerful than a true artifact. It was powerful, but it also required the user to have vast magic power. Normal nascent soul realm cultivators couldn't use it. Only soul formation realm cultivators could use it freely. She was only in the nascent soul realm. Even if she used a secret technique, she would still suffer a lot of damage. She would need at least 10 years of hard work to recover to her peak state. In fact, she wasn't the only one who was full of confidence. All the invading cultivators were very confident in her. They believed that Jiang Tian was dead for sure. Kong Teichu, you'd better release my father's nascent soul or you'll die. Chen Bahuang shouted. Kong Teichu, how dare you injure me? No matter how outstanding your talent is, you're still from a lower world. Your foundation is too shallow. How can you withstand the might of a quasi-Dao artifact? Mangu had used a secret technique to repair his body. Although his aura was weak, he couldn't hide the pain on his face. He gritted his teeth while facing Jiang Tian. Sigh. Although Kong Teichu was very strong, his foundation was too weak. Unlike him, he used a quasi-Dao artifact as soon as he attacked. Down below, the master of Pinefish Island, the sect master of the Huayu sect, and perfected cultivator Yin shook their heads and sighed. They didn't think Jiang Tian would win at all. Tai Chu Sr., be careful. Perfected cultivator Black Turtle was so shocked that he almost jumped up. Cold sweat poured down like a waterfall. Xie Tingran and Xiao Bing were suffocated. Their faces changed drastically and they couldn't even say a word. Their eyes almost popped out. Senior, get out of the way. It's a quasi-Dao artifact. Ao Jiao was so scared that she covered her mouth with her hand to suppress her scream. That was a quasi-Dao artifact, which could kill a soul formation realm cultivator. What was the concept of facing Jiang Tian? It was like taking a machine gun and shooting at a mortal body. Who would be able to block it? Thousands of miles away, high up in the sky, a man and a woman stood in the air, isolated from the other's divine senses. Their auras were faintly discernible. They stood in the air, looking down at the battlefield of the 18 floating islands. Brother Shu Jian, who do you think will win this time? The female cultivator's eyebrows were as beautiful as a painting. Her red lips shone with a seductive light. Her body was curvy and graceful, and her temperament was ethereal like a fairy from the moon palace. She was very young, but she had already broken through to the first level of the nascent soul realm. Her cultivation was even stronger than Long Xingnan's. She could be said to be a talented person. However, when she looked at the young man in white next to her, her eyes were full of admiration, like a little fangirl who saw her idol. Because this young man was the genius of the second-level world, fertile earth world, Wu Shujian, who was ranked 21st on the God of War list. As for Long Xingnan, she was only ranked 90th on the God of War list. Her position was relatively low. Although she was in the same generation as Wu Shujian, She still had to greet him as a disciple. Yao Yue, it's not about who will win. It's about whether Kong Teichu will die this time. Wu Shujian's white clothes fluttered in the wind. His black hair was tied up with a jade crown. His appearance was handsome and delicate. His lips were red and his teeth were white. He looked refined and elegant. He was only 17 or 18 years old. He looked like a delicate and weak scholar. However, his eyes were full of vicissitudes, which proved that he was much older than he looked and had a lot of experience. This was a special situation in the world of cultivation. After reaching the golden core level, cultivators could basically change their appearance and even rebuild their bodies. Age and appearance were almost irrelevant. Is a half-step Dao artifact really that powerful? Yao Yue Fairy exclaimed. Kong Teichu's performance was comparable to that of a nascent soul heavenly lord. Even overlords like Emperor Qin Qing, Yin Lingji and Man Gu were no weaker than him. How could they not be able to withstand a half-step Dao artifact? A Dao artifact. It's the fruit of a soul formation grand cultivator's life. It contains the laws of heaven and earth and can unleash an attack comparable to that of a soul formation grand cultivator. It's not something a nascent soul heavenly lord can resist. Kong Teichu could indeed control or break a forbidden region. However, he's not a nascent soul heavenly lord after all. Not even Cheng Aojuan, the top cultivator on the God of War role, could resist it, let alone him. Wu Shujian said confidently. If you think Long Xingnan is going to win, why did you ask her for help? Why didn't you help her before? Why did you sneak into this place to observe? Yao Yue Fairy asked. There are legends about pregnant deities on Earth. That wasteland isn't as simple as we think. That's why the Emperor of the Ruins values it so much. Wu Shujian's eyes deepened. In fact, the fertile Earth world has always wanted to attack Earth, but we're being careful and we're still making some preparations. That's why Jade Lake and Hai Lan found a chance to attack first. If I help them now, I might not get the credit and the Emperor of the Ruins might not approve of it. So why should I help them? When they're both injured, we'll find a chance to enter the lower worlds and attack Earth. They communicated with their immortal will at an extremely fast speed. So many complicated messages were sent in a blink. Just when the many experts thought that Jiang Tian would lose without a doubt, the result was already set. Even Sun Bojun cracked a smirk. But soon, the situation changed. Nice blade, Jiang Tian exclaimed. But then he shook his head and snickered. You can't kill me. You're only a half-heavenly lord and a nascent soul cultivator. Even though your Dharma treasure is powerful, you can't use all its power. You can only kill normal nascent soul cultivators. Although I'm only a golden core nascent soul cultivator, my power is much more powerful than normal nascent soul cultivators. Then, Jiang Tian raised his hand and reached out with his jade white right hand. It was as weak as a 16-year-old girl's hand. Under everyone's shocked gazes and countless exclamations, Jiang Tian held the giant blade aura firmly in his hand and wasn't hurt at all. He defeated a Dao artifact with his bare hands. At this moment, the world went silent. All the cultivators watching the battle were speechless. Chapter 1398. The Gung Metal Divine Body was divided into several levels: initial success, phenomenal success, peak stage, perfection, and transcendence. At the initial success level, one would be able to kill a foundation establishment cultivator with bare hands, and at the peak stage, one would be able to fight against a golden core cultivator. At the moment, Jiang Tian had already transcended the perfection level and reached a new level, the Gung Metal Immortal Body. How powerful was that? The Gung Metal Immortal Body is immortal and indestructible. You'll be able to fight against a soul formation grand cultivator with your body alone. As Jiang Tian said that, the golden thunderclouds in the sky were infused into Jiang Tian's body. His dazzling body seemed to be made of precious gold. Countless glittering Dharma laws and runes intertwined. In the end, he gradually became an ordinary young man. Clang! Jiang Tian stretched out his arm and shook it slightly, directly shattering the huge saber light into countless pieces that scattered in all directions. Looking at Jiang Tian's palm again, it was completely fine. The originally incomparably sharp saber light that could tear apart heaven and earth actually didn't even leave a white mark on Jiang Tian's body. It was like a saber cutting through precious metal. This is too terrifying. This time, even Ao Feng, the ancestral patriarch of the true dragon sect, was startled. Even though he knew that Jiang Tian was powerful and had the 9 changes of the divine plate and many divine powers, he had never thought that Jiang Tian's body would be so terrifyingly tough. That was a half-Dao artifact. What is he made of? Man Gu exclaimed, and his eyes almost popped out. He had a special body constitution called the Barren Golden Body, and he had always been proud of it. However, he thought that he could fight against a low-level true artifact, but he had to be careful against a mid-level true artifact. He wouldn't even be able to resist a quasi-Dao artifact. However, Kong Teichu was able to fight against a quasi-Dao artifact, which shattered his confidence and pride. What? He fought against a quasi-Dao artifact with his bare hands. He didn't even leave a mark. Is he still a human? Many cultivators were dumbfounded. They screamed and exclaimed as if they had been caught off guard. Especially those cultivators who were certain that Jiang Tian would die. They seemed to have been slapped countless times in the face, and their faces turned crimson red. Many nascent soul heavenly lords rubbed their eyes as if they were hallucinating. This kid is so evil, so monstrous. Wu Shujian's face warped, and his eyes narrowed. It was as if he had seen something inconceivable. Brother Shujian, can a quasi-Dao artifact be blocked with one's physical body? Fairy Yao Yu's eyes also widened in disbelief. She came from a top heaven sect in the level 2 world of fertile soil, so she was naturally knowledgeable. However, he had never heard of such a precedent. Any nascent soul heavenly lord would be as fragile as tofu in front of a quasi-Dao artifact. The power of a quasi-Taoist artifact was the real power of a soul formation grand cultivator. But that must be the mortal body of a divine transformation realm cultivator. Wu Shujian lowered his head as a glint of viciousness flashed in his eyes. On the battlefield, Long Xingnan, who was originally full of confidence, panicked again. A bead of sweat seeped out of her forehead as she cried out, "Jiang Taichu, what kind of heavenly Dao divine technique is this?" Jiang Tian snickered and said, "Why would I need a heavenly Dao divine art to beat a useless woman like you? This is pure physical strength." Everyone went silent. Although everyone had guessed that it was the power of the physical body, when they really got confirmation from Jiang Tian, they were still shocked to the extreme. He had fought against a quasi-Dao artifact with his physical body and shattered the blade aura of the dragon-slaying blade. Everything was like a myth. Even though Long Xingnan's slash didn't leave any mark on Jiang Tian, it wasn't completely ineffective. At least, it gave Divine Soul of Qin Qing a chance to escape. Although his nascent soul had been swallowed by Jiang Tian's Taotai divine body, his divine soul had been pulled out. Like a faint ghostly shadow, it dashed towards Long Xingnan's camp at lightning speed. "You can't escape." Jiang Tian swayed his body and sped towards the group as if he were riding on an invisible chariot. "Stop Kong Teichu! Don't let him succeed!" Long Xingnan shouted and summoned many golden core perfected cultivators and nascent soul heavenly lords to protect Jiang Tian. Many nascent soul cultivators and golden core cultivators of the Jade Lake rushed towards Jiang Tian like moths to a flame. They could die, but their great emperor couldn't. Emperor Qin Qing was the ultimate threat to their world. Once he died, the Jade Lake would become a land without a master and a disaster would befall them. Kill! Many cultivators of the Highland Sea also attacked with divine powers. Only by killing Kong Teichu could they save Long Yanan. Otherwise, the Highland Sea world would be controlled. Besides, Kong Teichu came from the mortal region and was like an ant in their eyes. If they lost to Kong Teichu, they would become the laughing stock of many worlds. "Teichum, you're courting death." Jiang Tian grunted coldly, and his battle intent surged like the tide as he charged over swiftly like a bolt of lightning. Then, the golden aura around him spread in all directions and killed all the Foundation establishment cultivators within a mile. Even the golden core perfected cultivators couldn't withstand Jiang Tian's attacks. In a blink, Jiang Tian had created a long bloody path through the group of golden core cultivators and Foundation establishment cultivators. Hundreds of cultivators of the Jade Lake and Hailan Sea world were killed by the golden aura. Even the leader of the Duanmu family was smashed into pieces by Jiang Tian. In the end, Jiang Tian grabbed the divine soul of Emperor Qinqing when he was 20 miles away from Long Xingnan's group. While Jiang Tian ignored Emperor Qinqing's cries and begs, his golden hand let out beams of light and was about to crush his green divine soul. Suddenly, a loud shout was heard. "Fellow Taoist, please stop." Accompanying the voice was a bright rainbow that pierced through the heavens and the earth. There was also a burst of vital qi in the rainbow. It wanted to save Emperor Qinqing's divine soul from Jiang Tian, but it was flicked away by Jiang Tian. "Who's there?" Everyone was startled and looked up. Like the most advanced space fighter, the dazzling rainbow broke through the air at a speed of 20 times the speed of sound and landed abruptly, revealing an old man in a white robe and white hair with a faint aura. Even his hair and beard were dyed white. He looked sage-like and was as powerful as Emperor Qinqing. Apparently, he was also a nascent soul heavenly lord, but he was only at the early stage. Ancestral Patriarch Heavenly Peng. Ao Feng exclaimed. Many cultivators from the Dragon Gate world were also dumbfounded. They certainly recognized that the old man was a living fossil from the Penglai world. He had the blood of the Kuan Peng and was extremely fast and powerful. He was even more senior than Ancestral Patriarch Takung. Penglai, Yingzhou, and the Baiming world were 3 level 3 worlds that were on par with the Dragon Gate world. However, Ancestral Patriarch Heavenly Rock was looking at Jiang Tian with a smile. No one knew what he was thinking. "Fellow Taoist Grand Primordium, please stop. Peace is the most important thing. Emperor Qinqing might have done something wrong, but he doesn't deserve to die. Fellow Taoist, please spare his life for this old man's sake. The old man can mediate and Long Yanan can stay in the Dragon Gate world as a hostage. They'll leave this world. They won't do it again in the next 500 years. We can also compensate them with spirit pills and heavenly treasures. I only hope that you can end the battle." Ancestral Patriarch Heavenly Rock said. "Right. We're willing to compensate and I'm sure Fairy Xingnan will agree to retreat." Emperor Qinqing's divine soul wailed and looked at Long Xingnan. His divine soul had been pulled out of the nascent soul and without the nourishment of blood and true essence, he could collapse at any time. The feeling of being controlled by someone else was too uncomfortable. Chapter 1399. Let's stop here. Long Xingnan gritted her teeth and stared at Jiang Tian viciously. In the end, the resentment on her face turned into frustration and she sighed. "Okay, I'll listen to you, Ancestral Patriarch Tianpeng." Of course, she couldn't accept the fact that her meticulously planned operation had suffered a double loss and suffered such a crushing defeat. She had no choice. She had consumed a lot of energy to use the Dragon Slayer Mystic Blade. If she continued to fight, she would only have a 50% chance of winning. Besides, Emperor Qinqing's divine soul and his sister, Long Yanan, were both controlled by Jiang Tian. She couldn't do anything even if she wanted to and was restrained by Jiang Tian. "Ancestral Patriarch, we can agree to this condition. Please persuade Senior Tai Chu." Perfected Cultivator Xingge was overjoyed as he spoke to Ao Feng. Xiao Bing, Xie Tingran and the other cultivators of the Dragon Gate were also overjoyed. This was indeed a good condition. The hostages would stay here, the troops would retreat and compensation would be paid. The Dragon Gate world would be very safe. However, true dragon ancestor Ao Feng remained calm and collected. Jiang Tian wasn't an ordinary person. He had his own plans and didn't need him to interfere. "Old man, does the battle between the Dragon Gate world, Jade Lake and Hailan world have anything to do with you? Why do you need to interfere?" Jiang Tian sneered as he mocked. "What did you say?" Ancestral Patriarch Tianpeng was slightly angry, but he immediately smiled and said, Senior Tai Chu, you're new here. This is your first time here, fellow Taoist Grand Primordium. Tens of thousands of years ago, Penglai, Dragon Gate, Yingzhou and Baiming were known as the four deity islands of Hailan. The old man certainly doesn't want to see another war in the Dragon Gate world. Give the old man some face. To hell with your mutual support and solidarity. Hearing this, Jiang Tian immediately cursed and sneered, "What a joke!" When the Dragon Gate was invaded by the ocean wave Jade Lake, when people were in a terrible situation, did you help? When the Ao family was destroyed, where were you? When Ao Jiao was auctioned off as a cauldron, where were you? You didn't show up from the beginning to the end. You just watched and even helped the villain. Now that I have the upper hand, you mediated and asked me to stop. Do you think I'm an idiot? Jiang Tian had sensed the existence of this old ancestor heavenly rock from the very beginning. However, when Jiang Tian was besieged and killed by the Dragon Slayer Mystic Saber, he didn't show up at all and just watched from the sidelines. When Emperor Qinqing and the others were defeated one after another and he was about to start a massacre, he jumped out to mediate the situation. He didn't even sit straight. Forefather Heavenly Rock was scolded by Jiang Tian until his face turned red, but he was powerless to refute. He could only narrow his eyes and say, "Fellow Taoist, could it be that you insist on becoming enemies with us? Become enemies? You think you're worthy of being my enemy?" Jiang Tian said mockingly. Good. Old Ancestor Heavenly Rock was so angry that he laughed, but his gloomy eyes were filled with killing intent. Patriarch Sky Rock had a lifespan of 3,000 years. He was a living fossil. Back then, even Patriarch True Dragon had to treat him with respect and address himself as a junior. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian actually didn't give him any face. He retorted and cursed at him, putting him on the spot. Boom! Old Ancestor Heavenly Rock waved his hand and a giant Kuan Dharma form appeared, turning into a giant Pang with giant wings. The Kuan Pang was formed by the supreme true essence of a nascent soul overlord. He originally had the bloodline of the Kuan Pang, which was completely activated at the moment. He was extremely powerful and his speed was extremely fast. He attacked the cultivators as if they were vegetables. You also want to go against me? Aren't you too weak? Jiang Tian sneered. Old Ancestor Heavenly Rock was slightly weaker than Emperor Qinqing. However, he had the bloodline of the Kuan Pang and his speed was extremely fast. He might be able to increase his combat power when facing an enemy. However, he was only on par with Emperor Qinqing and Jiang Tian wasn't a problem for him. Of course, this old man wouldn't dare to spar with fellow Taoist Tai Chu alone. However, there are many people who don't want to see the flames of war in the Dragon Gate world. Old Ancestor Heavenly Rock didn't panic and smiled. Boom! The void exploded, and a few more rainbows shot over from all directions with loud noises that sounded like the roar of fighter jets. They were either shrouded in water vapor, blood energy, sword energy, or death energy. Each of them was a ferocious nascent soul heavenly lord. Their auras were on par with Patriarch Heavenly Pang, and some were even stronger. There were 5 or 6 of them. Heavenly Lord Tan Lang, the realm lord of the Yingzhou world 1,000 years ago. Sword Master Ao Tian, the sect master of the Tianhuang sect from the Penglai world. North Sea Sword Emperor, the great heavenly lord of the North Sea. Spear God Spring Autumn, the sect master of the Jiuxiao sect. Perfected Cultivator Xinga looked up and said the names with great difficulty. They were all the most powerful overlords in their respective worlds. Sun Bojun and the Giant Shark King weren't even qualified to carry their shoes. Almost all the overlords of the level 3 worlds under the Hailan world were gathered there. Especially when he saw the last elder, who had horns on his head and scales all over his body and was surrounded by primordial water, he almost lost his voice and his entire body began to tremble. Dragon King of the 4 Seas, Heavenly Lord Long Pejuan. Long Pejuan had become famous thousands of years ago. He didn't have the blood of a human or a beast. He was a wild beast that had formed a nascent soul and turned into a human. Back then, he commanded billions of wild beasts and dominated the Dragon Gate, the Yingzhou world, the North Sea and Penglai world. He was so powerful that even the realm lords couldn't do anything to him. For 1,000 years, he was cruel and had committed heinous crimes. Even Long Baxia from the Hailan world was furious and ordered to capture him. A few heavenly lords had been sent, but he escaped easily. However, no one had expected that. Long Pajuan, who had once been like fire and water with Long Baxia, who had fought bloody battles with the Dragon Clan, had actually joined the Dragon Clan and come to suppress the Dragon Clan's world. Ancestral Patriarch, why did this happen? Ao Jiao clenched her fists and asked in confusion. Long Pajuan was our enemy. Long Pajuan has always been your enemy, but 1,000 years ago, Ancestral Patriarch Tian Peng and the others signed a divine soul contract with you to fight against the Sea Wave realm and maintain the independence of their respective realms. We even gave them a lot of tributes every year to maintain our alliance. Why are they on the enemy's side when we're in danger? The tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon smiled bitterly. The Lord of the Taichu world has returned and the balance has been broken. They feel threatened. In their eyes, it's better to be the Ruins Emperor's dog than to submit to us. They want to crush us when we're still in the bud. It was an unequal contract back then because no nascent soul cultivator in the Dragon Gate world needed their support and help. They accepted the tributes but didn't do anything. Then, Jiang Tian showed his power, which made them wary and thought they should get rid of Jiang Tian to prevent future trouble. Many civilizations were like that. It was like a friend who was willing to accept your benefits and call you brother because you were weak enough to not be a threat. But when you rise to prominence or become successful, he will be jealous and want to kill you. That's terrifying. Perfected cultivator Xinge, Xiaobing, Xia Tingran and the others were shocked and worried for Jiang Tian. An earth-shattering battle. It's a death trap. We have to retreat. Lin Qin, Lei Yongming, and the rest of the Foundation establishment cultivators were so shocked that they flew far away. They didn't dare to stay on the 18 islands, fearing that they would be caught in the crossfire. Chapter 1400. Including the nascent soul heavenly lords from the ocean wave world, there were more than 20 of them. Each of them was powerful and had surrounded Jiang Tian. Their viciousness was earth-shattering and it was a peerless killing trap. Do you want to be my enemy too? Jiang Tian's face was as calm as still water, and his smile was cold. Cultivator Taichu, please listen to this old man. Emperor Qin Qing was just following orders. He had no choice. Why do you have to kill all of us? Let's stop here and we can negotiate. The North Sea Blade Emperor said. Cultivator Taichu, why do you have to protect Earth? I heard that the spirit chi there is thin and dirty. Let's pledge our loyalty to the Emperor of the Ruins and ascend to the sky. Isn't that great? The Spring-Autumn Spear God said coldly. That's right. Sword King Aotian looked at them with disdain and arrogance. He was a man of few words. Cultivator. You might not know this, but Emperor Qin Qing is very doted on by the Ruins Emperor. He was once given careful guidance, and it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he's his last disciple. His status is even more honorable than Long Yanan's. If you kill him, the Ruins Emperor will definitely be infuriated. When that happens, even soul formation mighty figures will take action. Ancestral Patriarch Heavenly Rock said with a smile. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone felt a chill run down their spines. The world fell silent. A soul formation grand cultivator. If such an overlord was alerted and attacked, the Dragon Gate world would be destroyed. Cut the crap. Kong Taichu, you're no match for him. I'll eat you alive if you don't let him go. Perfected Lord Greedy Wolf gritted his white teeth and threatened with a ferocious gaze and a bad temper. Kong Taichu, let go of Emperor Qin Qing and I promise you that you can keep Long Yanan. The Dragon Gate world won't be disturbed and all the wild beasts will leave this world. We'll guarantee that this world will be safe and peaceful for 500 years. Long Pajuan shouted in the end. He was the most powerful and had a high status, so he made the final decision. Instantly, everyone's gazes uniformly fell onto Jiang Tian, all of them waiting for his final decision. What if I don't let him go? Jiang Tian asked with a smile. If you don't listen to our kind words, it means that you are looking down on us and provoking the heavenly monarchs of the various worlds. Do you think you can withstand the joint attack of 20 heaven monarchs? Long Pejuan roared arrogantly. His eyes were filled with disdain, as if Jiang Tian was nothing more than an ant. Rumble. Long Luo stepped forward and surrounded Heavenly Lord Hai Lan with many other heavenly lords. The entire island was in dead silence. My lord, please reconsider. At this moment, even Ao Feng's face was deathly pale. He could barely hold on. Jiang Tian had killed heaven monarchs before, but there were too many of them now. Sword cultivators, demonic cultivators, violent demonic beasts, human cultivators, and even the Hui dragon race were present. There were too many changes and it was difficult to deal with them. That's right. Senior, take a step back and everything will be fine. Let Emperor Xianxia go. It's not worth it to get you killed for a villain like him. At this moment, even perfected Lord Xingui, Xiaobing, Xie Tingran and the others spoke up to persuade him. Senior. In the end, even Dragon Girl Ao Jiao couldn't help but shout. Only Bai Zhe snorted. A bunch of cowards. My master has never been afraid of the ruins Emperor. Just trash. We're here to conquer the universe. Jiang Tian used his divine sense to sweep behind him and saw that Princess Ao Jiao's beautiful eyes were about to cry. She was so nervous that she was trembling slightly. Jiang Tian looked around and saw that everyone was worried, including Xie Tingran and Xiaobing who were not on good terms with him before. That worry wasn't an act. Jiang Tian was their only hope at the moment. If Jiang Tian fell, they still wouldn't be able to escape the fate of being enslaved and bullied. Everyone remember, there's no such thing as taking a step back in this world. When people come to you, they want to take everything away from you. If you let Emperor Xianxia go now, you'll be waiting for endless assassinations and sneak attacks. In the face of invaders, I can only refuse to yield an inch of land. As long as they offend me, I will return the favor. Only by beating them until they completely surrender and instilling fear in their hearts can we survive. Jiang Tian chuckled. Many nascent soul heavenly lords became serious after hearing that. Kong Teichu was obviously stubborn and had already shown his murderous intent. But the next second, the murderous intent in their eyes turned into shock. Let's kill Emperor Xianxia first. Let's start the war. Amidst the exclamations of the crowd and the shrill screams of Emperor Xianxia, Jiang Tian crushed Emperor Xianxia's divine soul as if there was no one around. What? He crushed Emperor Xianxia's divine soul. Countless people exclaimed in disbelief. A sector lord and great emperor of a third-grade world had been killed by someone, and even their soul had exploded. This was something that hadn't happened in thousands of years. The key was that old ancestor Heavenly Rock had already proposed to retreat and negotiate, yet Jiang Tian was still so ruthless and decisive. It involuntarily caused everyone's hearts to tremble wildly, and their hearts were terrified to the extreme. This guy is ruthless and merciless. We can't afford to offend him. A Dragon Gate trader said with his immortal will. He's so decisive. If this kid were to break through the clouds one day and ascend to the heavens, he would definitely set off monstrous waves. Even Wu Shujian seemed to be in awe. His eyes were glittering. I feel that his actions are too rash. Ancestral Patriarch Tian Peng is here. This is a signal. Some cultivators shook their heads and thought Jiang Tian wasn't wise enough. There were clearly people mediating, and the enemy had already admitted defeat. This matter could clearly end here, and there would be a perfect ending. But he was still aggressive and ruthless. As the saying goes, don't chase a cornered enemy. Being so merciless would only force the enemy to fight back. Kong Teichu was indeed powerful, but there were so many experienced nascent soul cultivators on the enemy's side. They still had trump cards that hadn't been revealed yet. What a good opportunity! Not only the onlookers, even perfected cultivator Xingui and the others were shocked. They felt that Jiang Tian was too extreme. Everyone was only communicating with their divine sense. In the deathly silence that made people's hearts palpitate, Jiang Tian's eyes swept over everyone with disdain, and he said in a cold voice, "Today, I'm going to kill all the cultivators of Hai Lan and Jade Lake, as well as Sun Bojun and the other traders. Anyone who stands in my way will die. The moment Jiang Tian crushed Emperor Qinqing's divine soul, a giant disc with a radius of 10 feet appeared behind him. It accelerated his speed and turned into a golden ray of light that pierced through the sky. Dazzling fist aura illuminated an area of 100 miles. Jiang Tian was approaching Hai Lan's side. His target was Long Xing. Killed. When he saw this scene, Long Luo killed to the point his eyes went red. His tall figure shook as the knotted hair on his head fell off, and the strands of thick hair grew in the wind and actually transformed into Ws that were 300 m long. Those dragons weren't illusions, but real living creatures. Every single one of the dragons had horns on their heads and scales that shone brightly as if they were made of gold. Their giant claws were sharp and could easily crush a golden core cultivator to death when they sliced through the air. Like a sudden clap of thunder, an earth-shattering dragon roar rang out. A total of a few hundred serpents soared through the clouds and missed at lightning speed. They turned into streaks of brilliant light as they opened their bloody mouths and tried to entangle and bite Jiang Tian. Chapter 1401. Thousands of dragons flew in the sky with endless power. Moreover, these flood dragons had different attributes. Some spat out 100-meter-long flames that could burn the sky. Some spat out black Shenming water that was incomparably heavy and could destroy everything. Some spat out 7-colored miasma that was extremely toxic. Each of them could corrode the body and destroy the divine soul. The dragon clan belonged to the beast-taming sect. However, the beasts they controlled weren't normal beasts. They were the dragons, which were known as divine beasts and auspicious beasts. The dragons were a rare species with a special bloodline and strong bodies. Even spirit treasures and true artifacts couldn't kill them. They were as strong as mountains and could destroy rivers, seas, and mountains. Each dragon was comparable to a golden core perfected cultivator or a half-heavenly lord. Controlling the dragons was the foundation of the dragon clan. This included the 9 Dragons Emperor technique, which was their sect's most powerful martial art. It was also created by their predecessors who observed the dragon's form and observed the dragon's aura and dragon's might when they were rearing the Jiao dragons. Gradually, it became a supreme martial art. Hundreds of golden core perfected cultivators and half-heavenly lords attacked at the same time. That was a terrifying force. There were only 100 golden core cultivators in the entire world of the dragon clan. Those who were half a step away from the nascent soul level were already powerful enough to control a city or an island. For example, Sun Bojun and the giant shark king had just entered the nascent soul stage not long ago, but they were already calling themselves masters and ancestors. They were showing off in this world and their words carried enormous weight. Run! Golden core perfected cultivators like the master of Pinefish Island, the sect master of the Huayu sect, and perfected cultivator Yun couldn't resist anymore. They ran away in fear. Hundreds of dragons. Ao Jiao and perfected cultivator Xingge were even more worried and their bodies trembled. Even Bai Zhe and Zhang Qianlei looked nervous. After all, the nascent soul heavenly lords there were all overlords at the level of a sector lord. They had different bloodlines, dharma forms, divine powers, and forbidden regions. At this moment, countless cultivators in a 500-mile radius looked up at the sky, not knowing the result of the collision. Jiang Tian punched out. The gigantic gung metal godly fist carried a destructive qi. It pierced through 10 miles of the sky. The gung metal qi filled the air. The power of that punch was overwhelming. Clang! The fist that looked like an ancient golden chariot clashed with the hundreds of dragons, producing an unprecedentedly loud sound. It was as if 1,000 standard nuclear weapons had exploded in the world. Huge mushroom clouds rose into the sky and bloomed in the sky, shattering the clouds in the void within 1,000 miles and sweeping them away. If it weren't for the fact that all 18 islands had their protective formations activated, the aftershock of this attack would have been enough to flatten the entire island from the vast ocean. Even so, the mighty qi of gung metal still smashed many palaces and buildings into dust. The first plate of mountains was in a complete mess. Bang bang bang. The scales of the flood dragons, which were strong enough to resist nuclear weapons and weren't afraid of true treasures and spirit treasures, fell off and fell into the golden flesh and bones. Then they exploded inch by inch. Countless dragon scales danced and their heads shot through the clouds. Dragon bones and dragon blood splashed down like a meteor shower and fell into the sea. Mahamaha! They couldn't beat him. Many surviving flood dragons revealed looks of horror. Their bodies flashed and turned into strands of hair that burrowed into Long Luo's head. Only Jiang Tian stood proudly in the sky. Behind him, the 30-foot divine disk that was slowly spinning emitted an endless beam of light that enveloped him. It made him look like the sun hanging in the sky, overlooking the myriad worlds. Jiang Tian's punch landed. 300 golden core flood dragons were wiped out. More than half of the soul formation flood dragons were killed, leaving only a few dozen. What? He killed 300 flood dragons with one punch. That's just too terrifying. At that moment, countless people exclaimed. They were dumbfounded and filled with disbelief, as though they had seen a ghost. What? Even Long Shengnan and Long Pejuan were alarmed. Although they knew how powerful Jiang Tian was, they were still shocked by Jiang Tian's terrifying combat strength. Terrifying. If this kid were to submit to the Ruins Emperor, he would probably be able to enter the top 10 of the God of War role. His combat strength would be close to the top, Cheng Aojuan. Even Wu Shujian's pupils contracted as he felt an unprecedented sense of danger. Brother Shujian, why don't you join the battle and kill him while you still have time? Otherwise, he'll be a threat sooner or later. Fairy Yao Yu suggested from the side. No. The time isn't right. This kid isn't that simple. He still has countless trump cards. We'll be courting death if we go up recklessly. Wu Shujian's eyes were focused as his divine will locked onto Jiang Tian tightly. He didn't miss a single detail. He had already treated Jiang Tian as a mortal enemy. How is that possible? My 500 flood dragons can even tear apart a late-stage nascent soul grand heavenly lord. How could he destroy them with one punch? How can he be so powerful? Long Luo couldn't believe it and roared furiously. After entering the Foundation establishment realm, every step wasn't easy. He had cultivated for 500 years to reach the Golden Core realm and spent another 1,000 years to finally reach the third level of the nascent soul realm. And this was under the premise that his bloodline was special, and he had a high position and authority. He was Long Xingnan's martial uncle and personal steward, and he held an important position as an elder in the Dragon Clan. And yet, Jiang Tian had risen from a barren planet and had an ordinary human bloodline. How could he become a nascent soul heavenly lord in a few decades? He's so powerful. Friends, don't underestimate him. Let's work together. Cooperate. Seeing that Long Luo's attack had failed, Long Xingnan's face turned pale. In addition, Emperor Qinqing and the cultivators of the Jade Lake had almost all died, and her sister was still in Jiang Tian's hands. She was so anxious that she almost exploded. We should have done this long ago. This guy is so fierce. If we don't get rid of him, he'll be a huge threat in the end. Sword Emperor Ao Tian of the Tianhuang sect straightened his body and shot out viciousness like a peerless heavenly sword. An ant from the lower worlds is still an ant, no matter how strong he is. How dare he not listen to our kind words and provoke us heavenly monarchs? I'm going to tear him into pieces, chew every bone of his and eat him up. Heavenly Lord Tanlang was as thin as a stick, but his eyes were full of greed. He took out a mace and yelled at the sky. Heavenly Lord Tanlang was only at the first level of the nascent soul realm, but he was a few thousand years old and had almost reached the end of his life. He was going to devour Jiang Tian's body and blood as a reward. Jiang Tian's body was incredible and his blood was as strong as 10,000 golden cores. If he devoured it, he could at least extend his life by 1,000 years. If he doesn't listen to us, don't blame us for being merciless. Let's attack him together. We can exhaust him to death. The North Sea Saber Monarch took out a pitch-black saber, which was dull and lusterless. However, everyone's divine soul seemed to have fallen into it. It was a supreme-grade true artifact, which was comparable to the dragon-slaying sword. Then, Long Pajuan, ancestral patriarch Tian Peng, the spring-autumn spear god, Mangu, Long Luo and Long Shui, all showed their power. In a blink, many forbidden areas appeared in the sky and many powerful Dharma forms rose to the sky. Many true artifacts were taken out and Dharma laws were spread. At this moment, Emperor Qin was dead. The nascent soul heavenly lords were no longer afraid of attacking. They finally decided to use their trump cards to kill Jiang Tian. Chapter 1402. From Xiaobing's point of view, they could see that in the sky. The Sky Peng's huge wings covered the sky, and the 300-meter-tall wolf roared towards the sky. The 1,000-meter-long sword Qi and blade light crisscrossed, and the rainbow-like Zhenyuan reflected each other. Every scene was like a miracle, shocking people's hearts, and every detail was earth-shattering. How terrifying! We wouldn't have been able to resist the dragons, not to mention the power of those nascent soul heavenly lords. Xiaobing looked up at the sky and sighed deeply. His heart was pounding, but he also admired Jiang Tian. Indeed, he didn't like Jiang Tian at first. But when Jiang Tian had reached the top of the world, he didn't even have the courage to be jealous. He only admired and respected him. It's finally time for the final battle. Perfected cultivator Xingge, Ao Jiao, Zhang Qianlei, Ao Feng and Bai Zhe all looked extremely serious. At first, the nascent soul heavenly lords didn't use their full strength because they wanted to persuade Jiang Tian to release Long Yanan. However, the development of the situation was unexpected. Jiang Tian captured Emperor Qin's nascent soul and divine soul, but they didn't dare to use their full strength. In the end, Jiang Tian crushed Emperor Qin's divine soul, which showed them how vicious Jiang Tian was and how powerful he was. Under such circumstances, the cultivators of the Jade Lake and the heavenly lords of Yingzhou, Penglai and the Baiming had to kill Jiang Tian in the cradle. Clang. Heaven Monarch Ravenous Wolf was anxious and was the first to attack Jiang Tian. He swayed his body and crossed 100 miles to arrive in front of Jiang Tian. The Dharma form of Tan Lang merged with him and his body quickly expanded to 100 meters tall. He held the mace in his hand and smashed towards Jiang Tian. The mace was a superior-grade true artifact. The bone of the Tan Lang was used as the handle and the head was covered with wolf fangs. Each of the fangs was refined with the blood of a nascent soul Tan Lang. It was the most precious treasure of the Tan Lang family. It was indestructible and could penetrate normal true artifacts. Even a nascent soul heavenly lord would be smashed into a beehive and die. Old man, you're courting death. Jiang Tian smiled. He reached out his hand and performed the spirit art of creation. The fangs fell from the body and flew into Jiang Tian's hand. Then, in front of Heavenly Lord Tan Lang's terrified eyes, Jiang Tian waved his hand. The wolf fangs turned into chi pillars with soaring murderous aura and shot towards Heaven Monarch Ravenous Wolf with a long grayish-white tail. Damn it! Heavenly Lord Greedy Wolf turned pale with fright. Like a wolf and a boar, he continuously stepped in the air and changed his position, trying to dodge. As a nascent soul heavenly lord, he was certainly fast and could surpass 10 times the speed of sound. However, he was still a far cry from Jiang Tian's speed. Bang bang bang. Large chunks of flesh splattered as the mournful wolf howls shook the world. The Heaven Monarch of Ravenous Wolf was sent flying a few thousand meters away. 7 or 8 of his ribs were broken, and blood and flesh were scattered everywhere. He was drenched in blood and looked extremely miserable. Arg! Heavenly Lord Tan Lang of Tan Lang screamed in pain. A few of the fangs had penetrated his spirit embryo and cracked his nascent soul. This kind of pain went deep into his soul and was unbearable for him. Take my attack. Forbidden Sword Domain, kill him. Sword Lord Outyin arrived. His long hair fluttered in the wind and his eyes were as cold as lightning. He performed the Forbidden Zone and many peerless heavenly swords appeared around Jiang Tian. The sky was filled with cracks and the dimensions seemed to have collapsed. The blade auras of the Forbidden Zone filled the sky and surged towards Jiang Tian. Each of the blade auras was extremely sharp and could kill nascent soul cultivators. They were far more powerful than the sword-shaped golden core of the green-robed ancestral patriarch and all the essence chi sword arts. Not even a nascent soul heavenly lord could withstand it. Break! Jiang Tian's fist smashed down, smashing the forbidden domain sword light into pieces. Then, before the others could react, Jiang Tian used the Kuan Peng to tear the dimension and flashed in front of the spring-autumn spear god. Tearing the dimension. Seeing Jiang Tian appear like a ghost, the spring-autumn spear god was shocked. Their forbidden zones were actually frozen by controlling the essence chi of heaven and earth. They didn't really control the dimension laws. Jiang Tian's grand divine power could only be used by a soul formation grand cultivator who could control the dimension and form a realm. Even the Lord of Hai Lan, Long Baxia, and the other realm lords of the level 2 realms might not be able to use such a divine power. It could be said that once anyone could control the dimension, they would be invincible. No attacks would be able to harm them. Great Sun Overlord Spear. In desperation, the spring-autumn spear god roared. His long spear shook, and the tip of the spear shone brightly. A huge sun burst out, and everything within 500 miles was as bright as day. It pierced towards Jiang Tian. Clang! Jiang Tian still threw out a punch, and it hit the spear light. The dimension cracked and the tip of the spear shattered. The spear flew out of Qin Fan's hand and landed on the chest of the spring-autumn spear god. Bang! The spring-autumn spear god's waist was bent like a prawn. His face twisted in pain and blood spurted out of his mouth. Yet at this moment, the spear shaft that was inscribed with countless talisman markings and seemed as if it was made from precious gold actually seemed as if it was made of paper, and it cracked apart inch by inch before transforming into pieces that fluttered about in the air. What? That is the ultimate treasure of our sect, the Red Sparrow Spear, an upper-grade true artifact. Countless 9 Firmament sect disciples exclaimed. Heavenly Rock Ancestor's main body and Dharma idol suddenly disappeared. In the next moment, he crossed a distance of several dozen miles and silently appeared behind Jiang Tian like a ghost. His enormous golden wings that blotted out the sky swept over, and every feather was as sharp as a heavenly blade that could cut through everything. Bang! This was the first time Jiang Tian was hit. He was sent flying for 10 miles. When he regained his balance, he looked at Jiang Tian's shoulder. The black robe on his shoulder was torn and the wounds were so deep that his bones could be seen. Good, not bad. The speed of the Sky Rock bloodline is indeed fast. Jiang Tian chuckled. In fact, both Old Ancestor Tian Peng and Old Ancestor Tian Peng had the bloodline of the ancient Kuan Peng. It was similar to the Kuan Peng blood pill that Jiang Tian had swallowed. However, the bloodline that Jiang Tian had absorbed was the bloodline of the Kuan Peng ancestor. It was many times purer and stronger than theirs. But you won't have the chance. Because you will die in the next moment. Jiang Tian was still smiling, but his expression was somewhat gloomy. A sharp glint flashed in his eyes. His gung metal immortal body had already surpassed the ordinary divine body. It was supreme and had amazing recovery ability. Runes and Taoist principles intertwined and flashed on his wounds. In just a breath, he was as good as new. But this was still unbearable. This was the first time he had been injured since he had cultivated the gung metal immortal body. Humph! Old Ancestor Tian Peng was frightened. He did not dare to face Jiang Tian directly. His body flashed and disappeared on the spot. He fled toward the North Sea Saber Monarch and wanted to join forces to deal with Jiang Tian. But it was too late. Jiang Tian's Kuan Peng speed was pushed to the extreme. He turned into a flash of golden lightning and came and went without a trace. Like a dream, he dodged all the attacks. The next moment, he appeared behind Old Ancestor Tian Peng and threw out a punch. This punch pierced through heaven and earth with boundless power. Old Ancestor Tian Peng, who had already transcended space, suddenly appeared. His body stiffened and his face was filled with disbelief. "I've been hit." Old Ancestor Tian Peng was startled and let out a sad smile. Then, like a nuclear explosion, his nascent soul exploded from the inside. Even the Forbidden Zone and Tianping Dharma form couldn't be controlled and collapsed. After a series of thunderous sounds, old ancestor Tianping, including his Dharma form and Forbidden Zone, exploded from head to toe. At this moment, Jiang Tian used his Taotai returning godly body. A deep whirlpool that was like a black hole appeared and devoured all of the true Yuan, essence Qi, and even the scattered spiritual energy. Ancestor Tianping completely disappeared from the world. After the ultimate battle, the first nascent soul heavenly lord, the living fossil of Penglai, old ancestor Tianping, had died under Jiang Tian's punch. At that moment, many nascent soul heavenly lords' expressions changed drastically. Even Long Pejuan showed a hint of fear. Chapter 1403. What did it mean to be invincible? None of them had a concrete understanding of it before that day. However, after seeing Jiang Tian kill the Archqin and the other heavenly lords, especially when Jiang Tian killed ancestral patriarch Tianping with one punch, they finally understood what it meant to be invincible. He was surrounded by a dozen nascent soul heavenly lords and killed them with one blow. Senior Grand Primordium's grace is truly admirable. Perfected Cultivator Xian Gui exclaimed. Any of the nascent soul heavenly lords in the sky could easily kill him. And yet, Jiang Tian was able to sweep across the sky and disregard all the nascent soul cultivators. He killed heavenly lords as if they were chickens, which made him admire him. In fact, all the cultivators of the Dragon Gate were in awe of Jiang Tian, as if he were their savior. Senior Tai Chu is truly invincible. On the island, Lei Yongming held the dragon scale dart that Jiang Tian had made for him tightly. He wanted to keep it as a family heirloom. The world of the Dragon Gate is saved this time. I can't believe I made him call me Big Brother. I'll brag about it for the rest of my life. Lin Qin beamed with joy. Senior Tai Chu is invincible. Kill them all. As for Ao Jiao, she waved her fists and cheered for Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian and the others were excited, but the heavenly lords of the Jade Lake, Hai Lan and the other worlds were gloomy and pale. Some golden core perfected cultivators even backed away, not daring to move forward. Everyone cooperate. King of the Blade, if you had saved him in time, Tianping might not have died. Long Pejuan yelled in exasperation. Right, let's attack together. He won't be able to defeat us. The spring-autumn spear god swallowed an elixir to heal himself and his eyes were filled with fighting spirit. Tan Lang, you're injured. Go back and support us. Brother Long Luo, come here. Kong Teichu will die this time. Long Pejuan said confidently when he saw that everyone's fear had receded and their fighting spirit had returned. Kill! Jiang Tian didn't spare them after gaining the upper hand. How could he give them a chance to catch their breath? The divine disc appeared behind his back again, and the Kunpeng tore the space apart rapidly. With a flash, he arrived 1 mile away from Heaven Monarch Greedy Wolf and swept his saber horizontally. Save me! Heaven Monarch Ravenous Wolf was already at the end of his life, and he had been forced to fight today. Furthermore, he had just been beaten half to death by Jiang Tian's fist, and his cracked nascent soul had yet to recover. How could he resist? Chila. The blade aura spread across 10 miles like a folding fan. Heavenly Lord Greedy Wolf's nascent soul Dharma body was split in half and blood splashed in the sky. Even his nascent soul exploded and his divine soul was destroyed. Jiang Tian still followed the principle of recycling waste. A black vortex appeared in his dantian, and he used the Taotia's return to origin to devour all the scattered quintessential essence, qi, blood, and mental energy. The second nascent soul heavenly lord, Heaven Monarch Greedy Wolf, had fallen. This time, even Long Pejuan revealed a sorrowful expression. It was as if the fox mourned the death of the rabbit. Ancestral patriarch Greedy Wolf used to be the realm lord of the Ingzhou world 1,000 years ago. He had lived for 3,000 years and was worshipped by billions of people. And yet, such a peerless overlord had still been killed by Jiang Tian. Long Xingnan's face was as pale as a sheet of paper and her body was trembling. For the first time, She doubted whether she had made the right decision. She had gathered the realm lords of 4 level 3 worlds and a talent from a level 2 world like Mangu Inlingji. Then she had planned carefully and intimidated many people. She had a good chance of winning, but she had never thought that Jiang Tian would be so powerful. "Kong Teichu, you're vicious," Long Pajuan yelled. Jiang Tian's battle awareness was too strong. He had just instigated many nascent soul heavenly lords and stimulated their battle intent. He didn't expect Jiang Tian to take advantage of the situation and kill another nascent soul heavenly lord before he even finished his words. It was like a heavy slap to his face, causing his face to burn with pain. But he didn't realize that this was only the beginning. There were more violent killings to come. "I'm vicious," Jiang Tian laughed. "May I ask if I used any Dharma powers or divine powers from the beginning to the end? Did I use any weapons? I will face the siege of 20 heavenly monarchs by myself. I used my body to crush your divine powers, Dharma form and true artifacts. That was the most I could do. So many of you have died because you were too weak to withstand a single blow." Everyone was stunned. They were flabbergasted and speechless. Even though Jiang Tian's words were harsh, he wasn't exaggerating at all. Indeed, Jiang Tian didn't use any tricks from the beginning to the end. He killed everyone with his powerful immortal body. But then, their bodies trembled and a deep fear appeared in their hearts. Did Kong Teichu have some powerful Dharma artifact? If he had a true artifact, they wouldn't be able to resist at all. A second later, Jiang Tian snickered and said, "Fine. If you say I'm vicious, I'll show you how vicious I am." Boom. Jiang Tian stomped his foot, causing the void to explode. His dantian trembled, and the golden core of earth vibrated violently. A giant winged dragon appeared, 10 times stronger than an ordinary flood dragon. It carried the myriad stone cauldron in its claws and leaped out, roaring as it charged towards the Saber Emperor. "What kind of dragon is that?" The North Sea Blade Emperor panicked and slashed with the black blade of obliteration. Boom! Suddenly, there was a sound like a dragon's roar. Mountains collapsed, galaxies shook and planets shook. The black blade aura poured down like a waterfall, destroying the protective array of the 18 islands below. It was as if 100 nuclear weapons had exploded on the islands. The earth shook and the mountains shook. The entire first mountain collapsed and countless people died. It could be said that any one of his saber beams could easily kill a golden core perfected lord and was unstoppable. His black blade of obliteration was a superior grade true artifact. It could shake 100 miles and destroy all life. But facing Jiang Tian's earth-winged dragon and the huge stone cauldron, he was still not at ease. He slashed horizontally, vertically, and vertically, swiping, flicking, crushing, hanging, and lifting. In an instant, he had slashed out 18 blade attacks, forming a dense blade forbidden area. It was vast and boundless, and it attacked towards the earth-winged dragon, wanting to block its attack. However, these forbidden blade domains were actually unable to resist the thick earth-winged dragon in the slightest. They were actually torn to shreds by the thick earth-winged dragon. Clang! The earthen dragon smashed the cauldron of creation. In the next moment, the forbidden blade domain was shattered. The North Sea Blade Monarch was smashed into the 18 disc islands by the giant cauldron along with the black obliteration mystic blade. 100-meter-long ravine was smashed open, just like the Grand Canyon of East Africa. The North Sea Blade Emperor's bones were broken and his body was like a pile of mud. The supreme-grade true artifact, the Black Blade of Obliteration, had already shattered into countless pieces. Just as he was about to fly up into the air and flee back into the camp, the thick earth-flying draconic dragon attacked again, crushing his nascent soul with a single blow. Another peerless heavenly lord had died. While everyone was exclaiming, Jiang Tian had already arrived in front of the spring-autumn spear god. He took out the nameless flying sword and slashed the spring-autumn spear god in half. His sturdy body, which had withstood several nuclear explosions, didn't stop Jiang Tian's slash at all. Then, even his nascent soul and divine soul exploded and were devoured by Jiang Tian's Taotai vortex. What? Long Pajuan roared in shock and anger. At this moment, many nascent soul heavenly lords were terrified. Everyone was dumbfounded and speechless. My friends, this old man has tried his best, but he's not strong enough. I'm afraid he'll be killed if he continues to fight. From now on, the Battle of the Dragon Gate has nothing to do with this old man. My friend, this old man didn't know the Heavenly Lord and offended you. If you come to my territory, I'll stay away to show my respect. Seeing this scene, Sword King Ao Tian's face was extremely terrified. His face was deathly pale. After sending a message with his divine sense, he turned into a sword radiance and shot into the sky. He was the first to escape. The super-luxurious battle group formed by the nascent soul heavenly lords and the top-tier overlords was about to collapse. Chapter 1404. He's so fast. The other heavenly lords hesitated, but they didn't dare to back off because of Long Xingnan's power. Swish, swish, swish. Jiang Tian's Kunping moved with extreme speed. His figure tore through the void, appearing and disappearing from time to time. The entire sky was filled with his silhouette. A second ago, he was 100 miles away. The next moment, he was right in front of you. It was as though he was everywhere. His speed was much faster than ancestral patriarch Heavenly Rock, and even the top assassins of the ruins of deity were slower than him. Bang bang bang. Jiang Tian's punches and kicks were extremely violent and had the power to shake the world. The air exploded and the mountains collapsed. Every time they clashed, a nascent soul heavenly lord would spurt out blood and be knocked away. Most of these normal heavenly lords were weaker than the Archchen Qing, so they were no match for Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian was already injured. At the end of the battle, one of Mangu's arms had been chopped off by Jiang Tian. Long Luo's face was covered in dirt, and his whole body was covered in wounds. Even Long Pejuan was being suppressed by Jiang Tian. In fact, Jiang Tian had also been attacked many times, but Jiang Tian's gung metal immortal body was superior to everything and didn't leave a single wound on him. This made them grit their teeth, but there was nothing they could do. The resplendent divine disk once again bloomed and spun behind Jiang Tian. The golden flames enveloped Jiang Tian's entire body. He was like the sun in the sky, illuminating the mountains and rivers. It was earth-shattering. Suddenly, a fist exploded and struck towards Long Luo. Gung metal divine fist. Jiang Tian's undying body appeared again in the Dragon Gate. At that moment, the sky exploded, the galaxy shook, and the chaos boiled. This punch was like a meteorite piercing through the atmosphere. With a long tail, it tore through the sky and rushed forward violently. Damn it! Block it! Thousand Dragons Forbidden Region. Long Luo's expression changed drastically as he roared. There were hundreds of dragons circling around him. Each of them was as powerful as a nascent soul cultivator, and their dragon chi stretched for a few miles. Now that the Forbidden Zone was activated, countless strands of dragon chi surged within a radius of 10 li. It was as if 10,000 dragons had gathered, able to block everything. In the face of Jiang Tian's attack, he didn't dare to be careless. He immediately unleashed his ultimate Forbidden Zone. Numerous enormous dragons covered the sky and intertwined with each other. It was like an inescapable net that couldn't be broken. However, under Jiang Tian's fist, everything was useless. Rumble! Jiang Tian punched out with the gung metal divine fist, and the 3-foot divine disc behind him shone even brighter. The surging metal aura of the transcending divine body merged into Jiang Tian's fist. The laws and runes intertwined and sparkled. In the end, the fist was like a golden rainbow that pierced through the heavens and earth. Everyone's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Clang! This punch shattered countless flood dragons, and a large hole was instantly torn open in the Forbidden Zone. The punch landed heavily on Long Luo's chest. Bang! Long Luo was like a heavy cannon that shot through the sky and flew dozens of miles away. He smashed into a small island with a radius of 10 miles, causing it to collapse and sink completely. Everyone was dumbfounded. They had never thought that even Long Luo wouldn't be a match for Jiang Tian. He had almost been killed by Jiang Tian's punch. Long Pejuan was shaken. He looked at Long Xing'an and said, "Fairy Xing'an, he's too powerful. We won't be able to win if we continue fighting." Long Pejuan was even more powerful than Azure the Archchen. If he said so, Long Xingnan's heart was pounding. Even though she didn't want to admit it, she had to admit that Kong Teichu was too powerful. He was simply an old monster. By then, the elites of the Jade Lake and the other worlds under Hai Lan had either died or been injured, which had already proved Jiang Tian's strength. "Run!" Long Luo jumped into the air. His chest was stained with blood and the corners of his mouth were also bleeding. He immediately let out a roar. "Let's go!" Long Xingnan unwillingly glanced at her desperate younger sister, but she didn't dare to delay. Her figure flickered, and together with Long Shui and the others, they turned into several streaks of light that pierced through the heavens and the earth. Long Luo, Mangu, Long Pejuan and the other 7 nascent soul heavenly lords spread their wings in the sky. As they retreated, they took out their true artifacts and spirit treasures, activated the forbidden area and activated their Dharma forms to stop Jiang Tian and cover Long Xingnan's retreat. "It's over. I'm going to be tortured by this kid." Seeing this, Long Yanan was stunned. She had never thought that her sister, who was powerful and talented, would be defeated and run away. "You're wrong. It's you and sister who are going to be tortured by me." Jiang Tian chuckled and used the Kuanpeng to fly 100 miles away, facing Long Luo and the others. "Kong Teichu, be merciful. Don't be too arrogant. Let Fairy Xing'an go, and we can still live peacefully when we meet in the future." Long Luo shouted with only a dozen dragons around him. His face was full of anger, but everyone could feel that he was weak inside. You think too much. You don't have the right to meet me in the future. I've never thought of living peacefully with you, because you're all going to die here today." Jiang Tianzong let out a long laugh. His battle intent was boiling and his killing intent was insane. He suddenly took out the absolute heaven sword and swung it horizontally. The moment the Ju Tian sword was taken out, an extremely cold, murderous aura filled the air. 100 miles were frozen and snow was falling. The sea suddenly stopped and the waves were still surging, but they had already become ice sculptures. What kind of Dharma artifact is this? It seems to be more powerful than a doctrine artifact. Long Luo was a bit shocked. Even though he was an elder of the Dragon Gate and a giant of the Halon world, he had never seen a deity artifact Dharma artifact before. He immediately felt the terror of the Ju Tian sword. Long Pejuan's reaction was even faster. He gave up on trying to stop Jiang Tian and shot off into the distance without another word. At this moment, Jiang Tian had already swung his sword. No one could describe the sharpness of this sword. When this sword was swung, a torrential sword aura surged like an ocean. The starry sky shook and many stars seemed to be about to fall. Many powerful forbidden areas were cut open like water with a knife. There was no feeling of obstruction and it went smoothly. Screams were earth-shattering and blood dyed the sky. 8 heavenly lords, including Long Luo and Mangu, were cut in half like tofu. Even their nascent souls and spiritual embryos were cut open in an instant and then exploded uncontrollably. They burst out of their bodies and turned into glittering jade pieces and flesh rain. Oh my God! This time, even Long Luo and Mangu are dead. Although Long Xingnan was running away, her soul consciousness had been observing the situation behind her. Seeing this scene, she couldn't help but feel heartache. She felt like her heart was being cut by a knife and she almost burst into tears. Long Luo had been taking care of her since she was young. He was a loyal elder who was both a teacher and a friend to her. He wasn't just an ordinary servant. Mangu was her close friend. He often practiced with her, subdued monsters and devils together, and gained experience through killing. The relationship between the two of them was very deep. They were comrades who could trust each other with their backs. At this moment, the two of them had died in Jiang Tian's hands. How could she bear it? She couldn't wait to tear Jiang Tian into pieces to vent her anger. I didn't expect that I would still lose after gathering 2 people from the second-class worlds and 4 sector lords from the third-class worlds. Kong Teichu, I've underestimated you this time. However, Long Xing'an, will return the shame of today's defeat to you 10 times or 100 times. Long Xingnan had taken out a supreme-grade true artifact flying shuttle and pushed its speed to the extreme, leaving a long green shadow in the sky. While flying at 20 times the speed of sound towards a world cave teleportation array, she gritted her teeth and made up her mind. As long as she could go back to the High-Lan world through that teleportation array, she would be completely safe. No matter how strong Kong Teichu was, he wouldn't dare to go to the High-Lan world. Chapter 1405. What's going on? All of a sudden, Long Xingnan found that her flying shuttle seemed to have fallen into a huge ice block. It stopped abruptly. Although it was still shooting out white energy turbulence, it was unable to move forward at all. Fairy Xing, don't go. I've said it before. We should join hands and break through the numinous firmaments to behead the ruins emperor. That familiar voice sounded like a demon's whisper. Jiang Tian stood with his sword and blocked their way. Even Long Pejuan had been captured at some point. His body was surrounded by golden shackles, and he looked like a defeated rooster. He hung his head dejectedly, unable to struggle. Kongtu, go to hell! Long Xingnan exclaimed. Then, her expression hardened. She burned her nascent soul essence blood and charged at Jiang Tian with the dragon-slaying blade. Jiang Tian snorted in disdain and slashed down with his sword. Crack! The blade aura in the sky shattered. The next moment, Long Xingnan's body shook. Her hand split open and blood flowed out. The dragon-slaying sword in her hand shattered and many pieces flew around like butterflies. What? Even the dragon-slaying sword was destroyed by him. Is he a soul formation grand cultivator? At this moment, Long Xingnan was in despair and she couldn't be more shocked. Long Shui was so scared that she crawled on the shuttle and kept kowtowing to Jiang Tian while trembling. Let's go! Jiang Tian raised his hand and formed a golden shackle that completely restrained Long Xingnan. Then, he waved his sleeve and flew towards the 18 island with the three of them. When Jiang Tian brought Long Xingnan and Long Pejuan back to the 18 island, Senior Tai Chu won. We won. Perfected cultivator Xian Gui and the other cultivators of the Dragon Gate who wanted to protect the emperor were overjoyed. Many mortals were stunned at first, then they burst into earth-shattering cheers. The cheers were so loud that they could be heard in a few hundred miles. Amidst the cheers, the faces of Sun Bojun, true monarch Yun, and the other traitors who were controlled by the true dragon patriarch's forbidden domain were ashen. Many of the spectators who harbored ill intentions or were close to the Jade Lake and the sea tide were even more terrified, as if they had lost their parents. We won. We won. Dragoness Ao Jiao gazed at Jiang Tian's tall and imposing figure. Her beautiful eyes were filled with worship and respect as she cried tears of joy. Not only her, but Xiao Bing and Xie Tingran also looked at Jiang Tian with admiration, as if they were looking at a real god. They did indeed have selfish motives, but Jiang Tian's actions today made them admire him. That powerful strength made them concede defeat. They didn't even have the courage to be jealous. We won. We finally won. Ao Feng murmured and repeated. His eyes were slightly red, and he was so excited that his whole body trembled. He knelt in the void and shouted to the sky, "O sovereign ancestors, do you see this? We finally won." For 1,000 years, the cultivators of the Dragon Gate had once endured humiliation and feigned civility. They had once fought bloody battles in the sky and died like rain. Their blood dyed the land for thousands of miles. It was as tragic as a song. They had once been cruelly suppressed and turned into slaves. They had lost their dignity and personality. They lived in a huge shadow, under the suppression of mountains. It was as if they would never see the light again. Then, Jiang Tian unleashed the power of a heavenly lord, sweeping across the sky and eliminating the traitors of the Dragon Gate, the Jade Lake and the invaders from many other worlds. They raised their eyebrows and felt elated. They vented the pent-up anger in their chests. That day was enough to go down in history. That day, Jiang Tian had achieved unparalleled glory again. The world of the Dragon Gate had lived in humiliation for a few thousand years under the suppression of the sea tide. Then, Jiang Tian had shocked the world and finally washed away that humiliation with the blood of more than 20 heavenly lords. We finally have the support of an unparalleled heavenly lord. After today, the sea tide world won't be able to gather enough power to enter the world of the Dragon Gate in the next 500 years. Perfected cultivator Xianxia exclaimed. Hearing this, the others' eyes lit up as they looked at Jiang Tian with endless respect and nodded heavily. A nascent soul heavenly lord. Not to mention that the Jade Lake Heavenly Lord's army was almost annihilated. Even the famous man Gu on the God of War role died. The heavenly lords of the Baiming, Penglai and Ingzhou were killed by Jiang Tian, and Long Shengnan was captured by Jiang Tian. Just the fact that Jiang Tian had completely revealed the strength of an unparalleled heavenly monarch was enough to deter them, making them not dare to rashly step into this realm. In the distance, high in the sky, Wu Shujian's expression changed indeterminately while his deep eyes flickered with divine radiance, and he revealed a deep expression of greed. He was excited to the point of trembling slightly, and he said in a low voice, "This kid actually possesses a supreme immortal artifact." Deity artifact? Yao Yu Fairy was shocked. It was also the first time she had heard of deity artifacts. She had only heard of Dao artifacts. Deity artifacts don't belong to our planet region. Wu Shujian said coldly. According to the legends, deity artifacts only appear in the cultivation worlds outside the planet region, but they are extremely rare even there. Because they don't belong to the human world, they fell from a higher world. Then, Yao Yu Fairy was suspicious. "Brother Shujian, are you going to take it?" "Not now. He's too powerful. I won't be able to fight him alone." Wu Shujian shook his head. In the next moment, his gaze became incomparably gloomy. "I need more gods of war. I might even ask Cheng Aojuan, the first on the god of war role." "Cheng Aojuan?" Fairy Yao Yu's eyes were filled with shock and she screamed in her heart. "Kong Teichu is powerful and talented. He's even qualified to be listed on the God of War role. However, how could he be a match for a monstrous genius like Cheng Aojun? That was why Wu Shujian was terrifying. He had a lot of connections and was close to many top gods of war. If he wanted to take a treasure or kill someone, he would do everything he could to kill them. The two of them looked at each other, each with their own thoughts. Their figures flickered, and they suddenly disappeared into the distant horizon. They silently entered a secret teleportation array and returned to the savannah world. Not to mention the two of them. A figure with an ethereal aura flew over from a flying boat that was emitting bright light in the distance. He stopped 100 meters in front of Jiang Tian, bowed in the air, and said loudly, "Brother Jiang Tian, Brother Jiang. Lord of Wandering Cloud Island, perfected cultivator Wandering Cloud, greets the Taichu Heavenly Lord. Congratulations to perfected Lord Taichu for wiping out the demons and establishing unparalleled might." Seeing this scene, the master of Pinefish Island seemed to have been struck by an idea. His body trembled, and then he turned into a long streak of light, flew over and respectfully kowtowed. The island master of Pinefish Island, Xia Hai, greets the Grand Primordium Sovereign of Heaven. I wish the Grand Primordium Sovereign of Heaven a long and boundless life. The other lords and city lords also turned into beams of light and kowtowed. They seemed to have seen their savior when they saw Jiang Tian. Their faces were full of joy and flattery, as if they had forgotten that they had once been enemies with the Ao family. "Taichu Heavenly Lord, you're finally here. I've missed you so much. I have been waiting for the arrival of the Heavenly Lord and the true dragon ancestor day and night to save me from the fire and water." The old sect master of the Jade Embracing sect was even more devastated. He flew to Jiang Tian's feet and knelt down in a panic. He hugged Jiang Tian's trousers and wept loudly. "Get up!" Jiang Tian grunted and waved his hand, sending the sect master of the Jade sect flying a few hundred meters away. The sect master of the Jade sect spurted out blood and looked embarrassed, but he still endured the pain in his chest and said flatteringly, Those cultivators from the outer world like Hai Lan and Jade Lake killed the cultivators of the Dragon Gate like pigs and dogs. This old man's hatred for them is as deep as the ocean. When Senior Taichu was fighting with them, the old man wanted to go to the battlefield with the sect master of the Taichu Heavenly Lord. Unfortunately, my cultivation is too low, so I can only cheer them on secretly. Perfected Cultivator Xianxia mocked. Sect master of the Jade sect, I remember that you were the first to surrender when Jade Lake invaded. Perfected Cultivator Xianxia, you've wronged me. I was just enduring humiliation to preserve my strength so that I could use it on a knife one day. The sect master of the Jade sect looked aggrieved. We'll talk about this later. At this moment, Jiang Tian waved his hand and glanced at Long Yanin with a spurious smile. In the world of cultivation, the strong were respected. Most of the people only cared about profits, and only a few of them really fought for justice and morality. Betrayal was very normal. Long Yanin was dumbfounded and shocked. She suddenly recalled Jiang Tian's words. These cultivators who seemed to be loyal to the Below Sea world were merely fence-sitters. They had long since lost their courage. As long as the overall situation was determined, they would not resist in the slightest. She didn't believe it at that time, but now, looking at the cultivators of the Dragon Gate kneeling on the ground, she had to believe it. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.